Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. It is me, Captain Logan, and as always, my sidekick, Austin, the Day Ghost.
How's it going?
Hello, Austin. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well.
Tonight, we're doing a double feature, and I picked movies that I've never seen before. So last week, we put out a poll for the Patreon producers, and Austin and I each picked super movies we've never seen, and I picked a double feature. So of course, I had to give us more work for mine. And Austin voted against his own choices because he liked mine better and because mine sounds like an Austin pick. So I went with the two Hellboy animated movies that came out between 2006 and 2007. The first one is sort of Storms. The second is Blood and Iron. I have a cool like a double feature 2-pack that's got a big Hellboy head on the front of it.
Yeah, I have that too, and it comes with a little comic inside.
Oh, mine doesn't have the comic.
Oh, really?
I read that it was supposed to, but mine, I guess I got secondhand and I didn't get the comic in it. So yeah,
they stole the comic.
I have to find that somewhere. Darn it! I think it was re-released on Blu-ray.
Oh, yours is DVD. Okay, so maybe that's the difference because I have the Blu-ray one.
Maybe so, or maybe they both came out at the same time and the DVDs didn't have the. I don't know. This isn't interesting to anyone, but that's the way I watched it, and the way I'm watching it tonight, because this is not streaming anywhere that I saw.
No,
maybe Starz has it, because this was made in conjunction with Starz. But who has that?
No one. The same, probably more people than have Paramount Plus, though.
Well, that's the way it should be. I don't know if that's true, but that's the way it ought to be. Anyway, Austin, real quick, give us your background on these. I just picked this because, again, I hadn't seen it, and I meant to review it forever. I was always kind of curious about them because they looked real stylized, and the animation looked really cool. So I was always curious about it.
So I feel like I've mentioned this on like 3 rewinds now at this point, but as a kid,
but you've never seen a superhero film in your entire life until this show.
Exactly. So when I was like, I don't know, like 12, 13, I used to watch Teletoon at night. Every Saturday they would do like a big movie, and they did like the Spawn movie a lot. I feel like Blade was on it quite a bit. And these 2 movies were on it quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
So I used to watch them a lot through that, and then more and more as I saw them, I was like, oh, Sword of Storms is playing. I'll skip that one. Oh, but Blood and Iron's playing. Oh, okay. Record that. So yeah, I used to watch both of these a lot. I don't know, my cousin showed me Hellboy 2 when it came out on DVD, and I was like, this is the most awesomest thing ever. I love Hellboy, and I like went out and I got an action figure of Hellboy that came with beer, and I was like, this is
really?
So cool. Yeah, I was like 11. I was like, this is so awesome. Like, I have an action figure that comes with a 6-pack of beer, and you can like take one out of the pack.
How did you? Oh, I was gonna say, how'd you get that at 11? You don't mean real beer?
No. He had like a little 6-pack of beer that he could hold, and like you could take one out of the 6-pack. And
that was his accessory. Is that the only accessory he had? Did he have a sword or anything?
No, he did have the gun.
He had a gun. Okay.
I was like, well, because those are the 2 things you want, really, is beer and a gun. But
yeah, I guess Hellboy probably only winds up with a sword when he's dealing with like some kind of supernatural thing where that's an artifact, right? Like he's not usually going around with a sword.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like the sword thing becomes more and more of a thing in the comics as it goes along.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that's when we like really love the image when Hellboy like holds the sword like that over his shoulder.
So regardless of the fact that this is my show, tonight is going to be a lot more of me learning and Austin telling me things. I'm not a big Hellboy guy, and I haven't seen the Del Toro movies in a long time either. I like them quite a bit. It's just been a while. And I've barely ever read Hellboy comics. So I did, obviously watch both of these, and shockingly, there were director and producer commentaries on these, and Mignola is also on them, though he doesn't say a lot.
Oh, okay, yeah, that doesn't shock me.
And so that's basically all the prep I had time to do for this week. So I didn't go back and look at any comics, but they didn't sound like any particular stories informed these all that much. There's a little bit of adaptation that happens in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. It makes me wonder because they're doing a Mike Mignola Hellboy documentary this year, and it makes me wonder if they touch on these at all. Because a big part of the trailer is the Del Toro movies, so I wonder if they'll touch on these or if it's just kind of they did some animated movies, whatever.
Well, it's nuts how much screen history this has now. As sad as it is that Del Toro never got to finish his trilogy, because we're about to have not the one but two reboots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
In live action, and I wonder how many people don't even realize that these exist. Because I remember them being advertised like kind of oddly hard back then. I found out about them, pretty readily, and they aired on Cartoon Network. I didn't watch them that way, but I remember them. I remember promos for them there.
I feel like it kind of slips in with that Science of Evil game where it's like we got the cast of the movie, but like I don't know how much people actually remember them now.
I forgot that game happened.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played that?
Yeah, I did. I got it for 360 because I was like, I love Hellboy. He's the coolest character ever.
Is it
terrible? And then I don't think I got very far.
Is it really bad or?
It's not a great beat 'em up.
Oh, it was a beat 'em up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. We're going to watch both of these tonight, so we'll take a little break in between. So bring up the first one if you have a way to watch it. Somebody said that this is on YouTube with ads, which will make it difficult for you to follow with us, but you could always, after you get your ads, like skip around. And I imagine maybe you don't even have to deal with ads if you have YouTube Premium. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think not. If you're looking for Just Blood and Iron, that is on Internet Archive.
Oh, cool.
Sword of Storms might be, but I didn't see it. But like, you can try searching.
It's weird if they'd have one but not the other.
Yeah, exactly. Because I watched these. I'm watching it on my Blu-ray now, but when I first watched them to prepare, I was kind of out and about doing stuff, so I sailed the seas, but so you can find it if you're looking for it.
But yeah, guys, so Sword of Storms is the first one. We're going to watch these in the order that they were produced. They intended to make a whole series of these, and my guess, Austin, is it only gets canceled because Hellboy 2 doesn't make the kind of money they were hoping it would, and they didn't make any more live-action movies, because these were very much tie-ins to those, and the second movie was used real hard to sell the sequel because they came out around the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I would imagine too, which maybe sucks because it sounds like they would have done Conqueror Worm or maybe something like it with the tease at the end of the second one, but whatever.
Yeah, well, and they're building a lot more mythology stuff in that second one, and talking a lot more about just where Hellboy comes from in the first place, and setting up Hecate and all of that stuff. We got a few super chats right away. Austin, should I save them and mention them as we go, or should I do them before we even start? Because they're not all that related to anything.
Oh, if they're not related to anything, then we might as well just tackle them.
Most of them. Okay, I'll hit these real quick. And thanks a lot for the support tonight, guys. We appreciate you. And always, if you're watching live and you want to leave a super chat during the show, that will guarantee that we talk about your feelings about this movie or any aspect that we might not hit with these. I don't know how much I'm going to have to say about these. I'm going to do my level best to keep this interesting, and I'm probably just going to ask Austin a lot of questions, but I'm going to do my best. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat, he says, off topic, but I want to say Austin's biker story was awesome. He was right to tell it, and we are all richer in spirit for having listened to it. What is he talking about?
My story of when I left Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, yeah! He left a super chat just to christen that story.
Well, I told him, like, nobody reacted, and I was like, oh, I guess that story is maybe not as funny as I thought it was. But it's good to know.
No, I'm sorry about that. I was in the middle of, like, 5 other things. When you were,
it's all good.
Because I was having to mod comments and stuff. I felt bad. I missed a little bit of it while we were dealing with things, and I was like, Austin just couldn't wait to tell his story. I'll make it a short.
I don't know, because it does have some light cursing.
Maybe I shouldn't make it a short. Suddenly I'm remembering some of how that ends. Adam March.
See, now you're like, oh yeah, I wasn't very impressed with that.
It wasn't that. It was just awkward. I wasn't sure how to respond. Adam March, $10 super chat, says $10 in honor of Teddy and his bleeding bank account. We did a request the other day
his bank account will be missed.
Yeah, Teddy really unloaded his bank account so that he could troll us about Oppenheimer. This is already off the rails. We haven't even gotten started. Bob the Hun, $5 super chat. This is related to the movie. Direct-to-DVD PG-13 animated films were sort of a fad in the 2000s for 5 minutes. Riddick had one, and freaking Hugh Jackman, Van Helsing had one. I didn't remember Van Helsing had one.
I didn't know that either.
Crazy.
Weird.
He's right. But I would say it was a fad for a little longer than 5 minutes, maybe 3 or 40 years. But like besides all the stuff DC was putting out, there were various companies that would do these little animated movie tie-ins to especially video games and movies. Like Dante's Inferno got one. That was what, 2010?
Oh yeah, and Dead Space I think has a couple. Resident Evil makes, I think still makes some.
Of course, Mortal Kombat makes them.
Yeah.
But they've got a whole series now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're just making like one-offs now. Maybe I think it was like a series for 2 movies. But
oh, okay. I thought they were all connected. Anyway,
I could be wrong.
We have to watch 2 of these. Let's go ahead and get started. Everybody get the first one rigged up to timestamp 0. Make sure you're watching Sword of Stones and not the Sword of Storms, not Blood and Iron. I wonder if that would have continued. They were just always like pairs of words.
Yeah, maybe. Lobsters of Johnson's.
Oh my god, I wish they'd done a Lobster Johnson movie.
Yeah, well, that's what they set up at the end of the second one. I'm like, I wonder what they would have done with him. I love Lobster Johnson.
Oh, did I miss something? Was there like an after credit scene or?
There's like a little moment where it's like, I don't know, I can't remember what they say, but they show Lobster Johnson. And I was like, oh yay. Oh, well, it didn't go anywhere.
I somehow missed that what that was supposed to be.
I love Lobster Johnson. So.
Real quick, this is also going to be a little bit complicated for me because I usually watch these with subtitles, and that helps me respond to specific lines of dialogue and things. And oddly, with all the special features it has no subtitles.
Weird. Mine also didn't really seem to have any special features. It just said, which movie do you want? And I clicked on Sword of Storm, and it just started.
Your special feature is the mini comic. That's what you got.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, we're going to get right into it. Here we go, everybody. Austin, get ready for heavy lifting. Everybody, please press play.
Sorry, I got to lift with one hand. Right hand.
With your right hand of doom? Everybody, please press play right now.
Everybody, please press play right hand of doom now.
Do you have the Stars Media logo at the start of yours?
No.
Oh, weird. Okay. I might end up a little ahead of you then. Because mine opens and it says Stars Media and then it says Revolution.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. And I just didn't. I thought it said something with an A, but.
No, it was like 2 logos.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. Oh, it sucks that I don't have subtitles. I'm going to do my best. One thing I thought of, speaking though of the fad of DVD movie releases, is this is curiously in at least a short line of quote-unquote series of animated direct-to-video movies that only got 2, but might have had more.
Oh, what's the other one?
So there's a few of these with different lines, but the one that predates it that I could think of course, you and I have done already, which is the 2 Ultimate Avengers movies.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then later on, you get it with Superman, Batman?
Yep.
There's 2 of those, and there might have been more. And this is not counting, of course, the intentionally split up into 2 movies like Dark Knight Returns. I don't think that really counts.
When are the 2 Batman and Superman movies connected?
Yeah, kinda.
Okay.
They don't really reference each other, but they were intended to be in the same continuity, and they might have made more.
Okay, I was never sure on that because they have very different art styles. So I was never sure if we just made 2 Batman and Superman movies, or if they were like.
They're not really different art styles. They're pretty close.
No, they're really different.
Are they not?
Yeah, no, they're really different
I'm pretty
looking.
sure they were intended to be in the same continuity. And then with the New 52 inspired continuity, you had 2 Justice League Dark movies.
And kind of two Teen Titans movies.
Kind of, yeah. Okay, Austin. So tell me if you have the same experience that I do with these. I'll just mention the both of them here for a second. This one I thought was kind of overall dull and padded with some really cool, fun imagery and fight stuff for Hellboy to do in the middle. And I kind of wish the whole movie had just been like a trippy, like road trip for him, or not road trip, but quest,
Mhm.
because that was the stuff I latched onto and really enjoyed with this.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And that's the stuff that feels the most right out of Hellboy. I think the issue with both of these movies is that they're like really drawn between being like in the Del Toro world and being more like the comics. Where it's
Yeah,
like we
I
like
had
maybe kind of inch it a little bit more, but like
I
we're
thought of
still
that too.
connected to that.
Well, and some of it is because they really only get made because they're tie-ins to that stuff. So I'm sure Revolution probably wanted that.
Hmm. Yeah, sure. But like you get some comic characters that aren't in the movies, and like I don't know, some of the action which is kind of Hellboy getting thrown around goes to some more of those comic places.
Although I will say, and I could never tell when I was listening to the commentaries exactly who was talking, because besides Mignola, there were like 3 or 4 producers and directors. So I don't know if it was Phil Weinstein, the guy that directed this one, or if it was Tad Stones who wrote this one, and I think maybe co-directed the second one. I can't remember. But anyway, there was a lot of talk about how they really had a lot of leeway to do more or less what they wanted to with these. So like I imagine when they first start on these, like I was imagining Revolution probably tells them like we'd like something that looks enough like those movies. But the way they were talking, it's also possible that that wasn't a mandate and that they just did that because they wanted to, or they liked that stuff, or what have you.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean that is possible.
Apparently, the main mandate they were given was from Cartoon Network, which was simply make sure that Hellboy gets some stuff to do at the start so people can tell what the hell they're watching.
Basically you have to have a cold open.
Yeah, and it almost didn't. I don't understand how this works, but this opening scene apparently used to be toward the end. And I don't even know
Uh,
how they get there, or because this isn't even in Japan.
yeah, how does that work?
So I have no idea how the scene would have been toward the end, but that was what it was made to do. Isn't that crazy?
That is weird. That's weird that there's no like moment where you're like, oh, this is definitely where this would be in the third act or the second act.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, and they didn't explain it at all. I do think this is a fun, exciting opening and sets the tone uh, really well.
Yeah, no, it's pretty fun. I think these movies are both at their best when it's just like kind of fun action stuff.
I do too, because I honestly had a difficult time caring about or tracking the main like background plots of either of them, but particularly this one. I mean, at least the second one, the background because they both have flashback stories that I think the movie spend too much time on, and at least with the second one, it's personally connected to Hellboy in some way and to Broom, who is a character that we already know and care about. If you know anything about Hellboy.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
This feels like Hellboy almost stepping into somebody else's adventure, which I guess is not, as far as I understand it, all that atypical of Hellboy. Like he never really belongs anywhere.
Hmm. No,
So
I mean that's very much Hellboy comics. It's a lot of them are that kind of man with no name, like wanderer, like wander into a new crazy adventure.
So I guess that works about it, and it also makes sense, I think, to do a story like this first instead of really getting into the mythology and the complex lore with Hellboy's background, to do a more traditional kind of one-off anthology sort of story.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that's what makes me interested in what the Lobster Johnson movie would have been, because the big story with him is Conqueror Worm, which is really important to the continuity of Hellboy.
Have you ever seen Amazing Screw-On Head?
I've not, no.
It's great. And it's very short, and we probably wouldn't do a rewind on it because it's not movie length.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I don't even know anything about that. I know that's a Mignola thing.
It's a Mignola thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So the scene we're watching right now was originally the opening scene.
Oh, okay.
So it would have just introduced, the main plot before you even get to Hellboy.
Hmm.
And it's the guy that gets possessed by two gods, which took me a while to realize that's what was going on.
Well, and I guess that makes sense because this is like your TV show episode opening, right? Where we open setting up what the villain plot's going to be, and then you get
with a
the
character
theme song, and then the show
that you don't know
starts.
and is kind of expendable, and then he'll be sort of the guest star.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So I guess that makes sense. I do find though that these two movies both just make me wish Hellboy had a good animated series.
Me too, and that's addressed by the producers and directors. I'll hit these super chats here in a second, guys. In the commentary quite a bit, and they keep saying a thing I don't agree with, even in 07. I mean, things have changed a lot now, where it's easier to imagine that they could do an animated series for adults and let the episodes be more or less the length they want them to be. But the argument they kept making was the kind of like stopping to smell the roses and emotional beats that they wanted, they felt like you couldn't get in a 22-minute episode, and so they wanted to make a series of movies. And my counter to that is both of them, but especially this first one, feels like a two-part episode of a cartoon show, of like a Batman animated series or something. And apparently I was spot on about that, because they also said that their script was too short for a 70-minute movie because they kept cutting dialogue out of it, because Hellboy is monosyllabic and doesn't talk that much. And so they apparently had a lot more dialogue for Hellboy and other things. And they went, okay, we have to cut 20 minutes out of this. So the reason I feel like this movie is padded by 20 minutes is because it's padded by 20 minutes. Exactly. But
So
specifically the number I said, 20 minutes.
Basically, it starts as John Byrne's Hellboy, and then they cut it down to Mignola's.
That's exactly right. And what they said was, like I said, we wouldn't get the emotional beats we wanted. It's got to be a whole movie. And my counter to that is, well, obviously you didn't have enough material for a movie-length thing in the first place. You had to add to it. And secondly, if you wanted to do a whole series of Hellboy on broadcast on Cartoon Network or something in 07, and you felt like you didn't have enough real estate to tell the stories you wanted to, why couldn't every episode just be a two-parter?
Mm-hmm.
And there are shows like that in that period and before.
Yeah.
Where nearly every show is a 2 or a 3-parter. Why couldn't you just make them like that? And then occasionally have a 22-minute episode when it's like a real short, kind of nobody needs to say anything, kind of horror thing with just visual storytelling.
Yeah. No, and I feel like Hellboy is one of the easiest comic book characters to do in like a 22-minute episode TV show.
I would think so too. I didn't
so
understand
much
what
of
they
it
were
is
talking about.
Short stories. Like a Hellboy show would be almost like a Samurai Jack thing, I feel like.
And I was getting Samurai Jack vibes from some of this, particularly this Japanese-inspired one.
Sure, yeah.
The big takeaway I had from this was, I should look more into Japanese mythology, because I didn't realize until I listened to the commentary just how much of the gods and monsters come from real Japanese lore. And it turns out that particularly Hellboy's quest is all just kind of a who's who of figures in a mythology that I've never looked into.
Mhm.
And so it's like a love letter to that stuff. So if you were real into that and you watched this, you'd probably get a lot more out of it than I did.
Yeah, and that's one of the places where I think these feel closer to the comics than the movies do. Is just that I mean, that's what Mignola's doing. Like so much of that is just his love letter to mythology and folklore,
Yeah,
and
he
just
talked a lot
here's a
about.
cool, piece of mythology. Hellboy's in it.
Yeah, he talked a lot about all the research he does.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I'd have to imagine it's a lot, and I think that's why there's a lot of people that consider Hellboy. I don't want to be like pretentious about this, but like I feel like there is a lot of people who talk about Hellboy as being more literature than like a lot of other comics, and I feel like that's probably part of it.
That's interesting. Yeah, just that
Not that I'm
it,
saying that, but
it's
like I hear
more.
that a lot.
It feels more literary because it's going to classics and delivering them to that audience.
Yeah, maybe.
Let me go ahead and hit these super chats real quick. Super Billy $5 super chat. Thanks, man. He says Hellboy and his two tiny toothpick legs. I had forgotten that he was supposed to have like super thin legs until they pointed out in the director commentary. And they're usually obscured in these. And there's like one or two places where his coat comes out and you can actually see what the legs look like. But they don't do it very much.
No, comic book Hellboy would be your favorite character because he skips leg day because it's stupid.
Oh my god. Not leg day. I felt like I'll finish the super chat in a second. On first viewing, I felt like that exposition about the tragic couple getting sucked into the sword, the ghost story, just went on forever. And like it's not as long as I remember it, but I couldn't get invested in it. I guess I've just seen too many of these things now, Austin, where it feels really typical. Where
You see the formula.
yeah, where like you get that pretty early, and you have it's just establishing what the main bad guy plot, like you said, is going to be. And so I feel like I get more out of that once the protagonist starts actually dealing with it than just getting it in a vacuum. Where it's like if I'm not immediately grabbing onto this and invested, where I would read this as a story on its own, it's really hard to even keep track of the pieces of it. Where it's like, now it's homework, now I gotta file it away. Like I never loved that, and it's hard to say what the solution is for that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, sometimes I would actually rather have, it's case by case, but like I get the conventional wisdom of come up with a cool iconography to deliver it visually to the audience. Man of Steel does that with the with like the kind of digital cave paintings, and then this movie is doing that with the scroll, and so you're seeing ancient Japanese drawings rendered and moving like an animation. Sometimes I honestly would almost rather just characters I already care about giving exposition in as lively and interesting a way as they can, and I will probably remember that stuff better.
Yeah, like sometimes you want the like Raiders of the Lost Ark scene where just they sit in a room and talk about it.
I mean, in this particular case, it almost would have helped if it was reinforced more. If we have to have that at the beginning, it might have been nice if our characters talked about it a little bit more. And I don't know if that's a smart criticism, because then the movie is longer. But
Or like a almost mission briefing like scene maybe.
yeah, and then you can have your cake and eat it too, where you see pictures of some of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The rest of that super chat, do these films have the same animation team as Spectacular Spider-Man? They look similar. It might have been farmed out to the same animation house.
I had a similar thought. It's almost like a cross between Spectacular and like '03 Ninja Turtles.
It was made by Madhouse, or rather, that's the overseas house. I think Madhouse is Japanese, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Because I think they do a lot of animes.
Animation houses.
But anyway, character model wise, I thought it looked a lot. a lot closer to like the Men in Black animated series and Extreme Ghostbusters.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like the Godzilla show
Oh,
from '98.
yeah.
I think that's the same people as the Men in Black show.
So part of the extra 20 minutes is all of the stuff with Liz and Abe Sapien,
Of course.
which does watch kind of tacked on, and it treats it like we're supposed to get invested in, I think, a bit more of a character arc than we really get.
Hmm. When I had a bit of a moment when watching this again, because I didn't remember a lot of it, and in this scene I was like, oh, are we maybe splitting them off and like they won't come for the adventure? Because that'd be kind of cool, because that is very like comic book Hellboy. He doesn't really have like a regular team.
And that's what it was originally.
Ah, well, there you go.
That's what they, like I said, everything with them is tacked on. Because all they really do is just sort of like prepare themselves for one of the monsters.
Mm-hmm. When they feel like they're only here because of the Del Toro movies.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, I will say it is cool that they were able to get the whole the cast of that movie to voice it if they wanted to have any kind of a tie-in to it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think all three of them do a good job.
Well, and it's especially interesting with Abe Sapien because, if memory serves, wasn't he voiced over in the first one by somebody else?
Yeah, he's what, David Hyde Pierce?
Oh, yeah, I forgot he was, which is fascinating because you have Roz from Frasier in this movie.
Oh, that is funny.
That's who's voicing Kate is Perry Gilpin, who I think does a really good job.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Well, and then Doug Jones, of course. It's like Silver Surfer. You got dubbed over.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting. I had to be reminded by that with the commentary where they were like, "Yeah, we got Doug Jones. He didn't even voice that character in the first place." And I was like, "That's crazy." I wonder if that's the first time in history that's ever happened. You know, that would be like if what's his face from Phantom Menace like ended up.
Oh, Ray Park.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
but actually, I guess that is his voice. The like 3 lines he gets.
No, it's
Oh no, it's not.
Oh my God, what's his face? The Tick. Serafinowicz.
It's Serafinowicz. No, I knew that. I forgot all about that. Okay, so I'm right. It's exactly like that. It's like if Ray Park actually came in for Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would have been like that.
For anyone who hasn't, look up Serafinowicz's reaction to the Phantom Menace because it's really funny.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, because he got it and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be like Darth Vader," and they cut like all of his dialogue and didn't invite him to the premiere.
Dance Den says Tad Stones is the creator of Darkwing Duck. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Crazy. They should have crossed over.
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys were animation veterans, I think.
That makes sense.
Speaking of that, in the second movie we'll do tonight, they cast Jim Cummings as Manning, and that is the voice of Darkwing Duck.
Oh, okay.
As well as 6 billion other things.
I was gonna say, Jim Cummings is like everyone.
Jim Cummings has done everything, yeah. And the big thing I always think of him for is Barry in The Tick, and I think he's like 19 different characters in The Tick, but he's also multiple Santa.
It's weird for me because I've seen him in like a million things, obviously, but the main thing that I associate with Jim Cummings is Winnie the Pooh, despite having never seen Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, that seems like the thing he's most known for.
But it's weird that I would associate that with him when I have like no real connection to Winnie the Pooh. Like,
well, it's always weird to hear because he also voices Tigger, and it's always weird.
I didn't even know that.
Like, you know, in modern stuff, and it's always weird hearing him voice Tigger because you can hear that like groveling tinge he does in a lot of voices, and so he does a perfect Tigger impression, except you can still tell it's him. It's so weird. But I digress. Some of the mystical Japanese stuff in this is like visually engaging and appealing, I think.
Yeah, the colors when he gets teleported here are really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
and I just like the mystery of it.
mhm.
You know, like
This fox
I
thing
like the idea of the
also,
fox with
yeah,
it turns in the old lady, and it's like Dulcia in the Power Rangers movie.
yeah, it reminded me of that the Johnny Cash episode of The Simpsons where he's the coyote.
Have I seen that?
I don't know. It's in season 7. It's like Homer goes on to a like mystical journey, and his spiritual guide is a coyote that's voiced by Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But yeah, so did you find it difficult to track the backstory with the couple and the sword with this in the daimyo, or like did you just not engage with it and not really care at all?
It was more so that like I didn't really have a hard time following it. It was more so just it wasn't really grabbing me, and it just reminded me of being a kid when I was like, oh yeah, this. I can understand why I thought this was boring.
Yeah, because it feels like the excuse to have all this lore and do a ghost story,
Mhm.
but we spend so much time on it. It feels like I'm supposed to care more about the ghost characters than I do.
Mhm.
And that's where it becomes, I think, a little bit of a problem that it feels like Hellboy walking into somebody else's story. Where, like, there is something sort of appealing about that, where he's there, he doesn't really care, and he comes up with a really simple solution by the end.
Mhm.
But at the same time, he's fun, and I'm liking everything he's doing when he's in scenes, but he's just not in enough of it.
Mhm. Yeah, and watching it, I was like, okay, is he just not in it a ton because we have Ron Perlman, so we can't get him for long, or like what? But it just sounds like it's more so the movie's so padded that they had to like add so much outside of that.
Yeah, at first I thought maybe that's what it was, and then I started thinking maybe more of it was they're they're having a hard time striking the balance between is it a Hellboy story or is it a BPRD story? Because I think listening to the guys that made this talk about it, it sounds like they really kind of fell into an allure of here's this side of this universe that we're not getting to do as much with the movies, but with these animated things we can kind of put the emphasis more on the bureau.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think everything with Hellboy is way more interesting.
But they're also putting that emphasis on it and then also sidelining those characters until they add 20 minutes back in. But they make a really big deal out of, now we can have like the helicopter and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I I should also note that very often when you have the actors from a film that come in and like revoice those characters in something like this or a video game or a cartoon show or what have you, you'll end up with actors that aren't used to doing voice work and don't know how to make it sound natural. And I think these movies are really benefited by having Ron Perlman, who is a veteran voice actor
Yeah,
already.
and I don't know about Selma Blair or
Yeah, she had done none, but
yeah,
she sounds fine in these.
yeah, and I'm not sure about Doug Jones either, but I think both of them do a good job too.
Yeah, this whole voice cast is quite good.
hmm Well, you'd think that Doug Jones would be especially awkward because he has the opposite. He always gets his voice cut.
Yeah. Well, he's done a great deal more dialogue at this point.
hmm
He actually gets to voice his characters now.
Yeah,
And as much as it sucks, he got to do Discovery 5 years, so good for him for getting a paycheck.
I didn't even know he was on that show.
Oh yeah, he's a lead character from the very beginning.
Oh,
He's Saru, and they clearly cast him because it's a really heavy makeup role.
mm.
But he didn't get voiced over. It is his voice.
They should have gotten Ron Perlman to voice over him.
That just would have been weird.
Exactly.
So yeah, I just get frustrated with this because there are a lot of scenes that I feel that are kind of atmospheric and provocative, but I just don't feel like it needs really.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I don't even know if it needs these scenes that are kind of tracking the sword collector that got possessed in his transformation. Like I think it would be pretty easy to give us that in kind of quicker cuts, or just meet up with him toward the end where it's like, oh god, look what happened to this guy.
I'm gonna go one step beyond what you said earlier, Cap, and I think you could edit this down into just one episode of an animated series.
This one even more so than the second one, yeah. Also,
Yeah,
that
like
was seizure inducing. That lightning, and like even for me, that's hard to look at. Like, oh god,
that's a cool transition though.
yeah.
So it redeems the seizures.
Well, I guess, except if I'm already having an epileptic fit.
Yeah, but if you're having an epileptic fit, you then see that transition and you're like, worth it. Probably not, though. So I think we just feel like Hellboy right here. We're just like,
Crap.
Crap.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that Hellboy isn't in as much of this is because the writers and directors are, and I say directors because the second movie I think has two, but I think they're conflating like simple and monosyllabic with should be more in the background and shouldn't feature as much. Maybe. I mean, if you take away the 20 minutes that they added, it would feel like he was here a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, but I still think we cut away from him too much. It's almost like because he doesn't talk much and he kind of just, reacts when things happen, they feel like he's not interesting enough to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that with Hellboy. I just find him like, as backwards of a compliment as this sounds, like this character is refreshingly simple-minded.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if McNulty would take that as offensive if you said that to him. I feel like that's not exactly the way he phrases it, but it's not too far off.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to figure out a way to phrase it where I didn't make him sound dumb, because I almost said like refreshingly simple, and that's not really what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I mean, his Hellboy is very like this, like he's monosyllabic in the same way, but you're also always with him.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't feel like he just disappears for long extents. But
also,
this,
would you talk a little bit about the story this part's based on?
yeah, so this is based off the Head short story, which is basically just everything that we've seen so far is pretty much in it. There's a little bit more dialogue because it's in a movie, but it's basically just Hellboy goes to sleep by a tree in Japan. He gets taken in by these people. When he goes to sleep, he wakes up in the middle of the night, goes to see them, and they all have no heads. So he dumps their body into the lake, and then the heads attack him, and then they die. It's a 10-page short story, and it's awesome. But
apparently, most of the dialogue in the story the guy tells is like word for word from the comic.
Well, it probably is like exactly it. It felt longer, I think, because you're watching it being played out as opposed to reading it.
Well, and in the comic, it's in one panel.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So I think that's probably why.
It's this big block of text.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly.
I know that about it. I haven't actually read it, but.
And he also does that, like,
talk about that.
Where the hell are their heads bit, if I remember right. And, like, this shot's right out of it. Like, so they're adapting this very faithfully.
Yeah, this is all wonderfully creepy and, hard to call. Like, you don't really know where it's going. And it's kind of disturbing. And the story he tells, like, I love how Hellboy doesn't have much of a reaction, but you can tell that he's, like, really creeped out by it. He's like, okay.
Well, that's where he feels the most like Hellboy. It's like, this is my life. Like, this is what I do every day.
Yeah, this is all wonderfully messed up. It is truly remarkable that these movies were on Cartoon Network and not at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that was like the perfect time to watch them. When it was the like 10 o'clock movie night when I was a kid.
Yeah, they're not rated on the DVD. The producers talk about it like it got a PG-13, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean that's about what I thought they were.
Yeah, it would be nuts if these got a PG. I don't even know how that would happen, given all the blood and stuff. I'm just saying it's nice that they allowed them to go that graphic with it,
No, I agree.
given the kind of stories they're telling. And
Damn
damn heads. Do you have the thing I do with these though, Austin? One of the things I find, I mean, the main thing is just pacing, right? But one of the things I find a little frustrating about these is they feel like they want to be for adults, but they're held back a little bit. Where sometimes they fall into kind of like typical cartoon traps, and I mean mostly just occasional visual things.
Hmm. Oh, like what, for example?
Like character models and like certain characters, particularly with BPRD characters, just feel like they come out of like kids cartoon shows to me.
I have that a little bit with Liz, where like Liz feels like she's like a
Sure.
background character of like Phineas and Ferb or
Yeah.
Kim Possible or something.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Is I'm just reminded too much of like the main style of this, and then the style in the second movie is a little more consistent with the first, where the character models in this movie feel a little bit more all over the place to me.
Yeah, for sure.
But they just remind me too much of shows aimed at kids at that time, and I think it is stylized enough. I just wish the style was maybe like even a little more angular than it is.
Hmm.
I wish it was looking more at like Batman Animated Series and even like HBO Spawn than it was looking at some of the early 2000s things that were popular.
You know what it also looks like? I just had this thought.
Although
Looking
I
at
think
Hellboy
Hellboy's
there.
character model is nigh perfect.
Oh yeah, he
I
looks
will
great.
say that. But I want everything to be that angular.
You know what it also has like a little bit of, and not a ton of it because that's more anime-y, but that Fantastic Four show from this time, there's a bit of that in here too.
You know, now that you say that, yeah.
What is that, like Fantastic Four? Is it World's Greatest Heroes?
I think
Something
that's what
like
it's
that.
called, right? I've only seen a
Yeah,
couple episodes of that.
yeah, I remember watching that at the time.
But yeah, I like this as a series of vignettes. I wish like I said, the whole movie was like this.
Mhm. Oh yeah, it would have been cool if they just straight up made like a vignette series, almost like Gotham Knights, but maybe a more consistent animation style.
Sure. Yeah, but even doing that where you had different directors making each of them with this as the premise, where you just have kind of a easy framing device at the beginning, and a simpler version of this could work as a framing device, where it's like there are these possessing spirits, and then uh, because of the sword, Hellboy ends up going on this quest, and then we see him on all these separate adventures, and then at the end, he has to fight the ghosts for like 5 minutes, and that's the last vignette, and you're done. Like you don't need everything else.
You could also do something like Hellboy gets a new partner who could still be was it Kate
Kate,
from the
yeah,
beginning of this, and maybe she's like nervous or something, and he's is just kind of telling her stories on the helicopter to where they're going, and you can like jump around a little
it's
bit
just
more. You
all
could do
this
something
stuff.
even as similar as simple as that, and just do like a couple different McNulty short stories.
I think a lot of the most impressive, pardon me, animation in this movie is in this sequence.
Oh sure. Yeah, there's a lot of complicated stuff in it. Like some of the leaves earlier on too, when he walks into this area.
Yeah, it doesn't watch phoned in, and there are some sequences that are, more impressive and less rushed than others. Apparently, they didn't have any time to make this, and not much of a budget. And
That's
so
not shocking.
the
Yeah.
corners that are cut are not because anybody was lazy. It's very much a like 90s X-Men thing,
Mhm.
where it's like if they'd had the time and money. And one thing I did appreciate about those guys in the commentary is they point out lots of mistakes that I didn't even notice.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Where
like what?
they're not well, just bits. Like there's a thing toward the end. I can't remember which movie it's in. I think it's this one, where there was like 2 seconds of frames for some reason left over from a sequence that takes place in a completely different part of the world that they didn't catch until right at the end, and they couldn't remove it. And so, like, they're not patting themselves in the back and acting like they made a masterpiece or like everything is perfect.
Yeah, I actually kind of appreciate that because, I mean, we've been pretty hard on this movie, but that last head section was really good, and the spider one's really good. Like, it's not like
No, I love
this movie's
all of the
awful.
stuff with Hellboy in this. I just wish that
Yeah.
was the movie. Like, imagine, if you will, that this movie, whether you had a framing device or not, like, pretty much opens with Hellboy wakes up in a forest and doesn't know how he got there. Like, that's provocative. That makes you want to keep watching.
Yeah.
You don't need the typical, and I realize this is the same year these started, but you don't need the typical DC direct-to-video opening where you have to have a big fight with a bunch of heroes you don't even know why they're there, and then you finally get into what the actual story is.
Yeah, no, I feel like if it leaned into the strengths of these movies, it would maybe be my favorite adaptation of Hellboy.
Yeah, because like you said, visually it's a lot closer.
Hmm. Yeah, and like just those sequences feel like they're just right out of the comics. Like we're just taking. I mean, the heads one specifically is, but they feel
Now-
like really close adaptation.
Now that shot with the possessed collector looking right at the screen, that was a HBO Spawn shot.
Oh yeah.
That was just clown. I do admire that these movies, and especially this one, are as action driven as they are, and that you have long swaths where they don't feel like they have to have anybody say a one-liner or be cute for no reason.
Mhm.
They're really visually driven. It is really padded.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's also nice that they were allowed to go to more of a horror place than the movies did.
Yeah.
Like than the Del Toro movies did.
And these go to straight up horror places.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot truer to the original concept, right? Like it's an investigative bureau, so it's a detective story, but the conceit is we're investigating horror situations.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So yeah, this is all the stuff that
Now it's just The Shape of Water.
we just didn't really need. And I was kind of with it for a minute because I was intrigued by the idea that maybe they were giving these two a romance and then it doesn't really culminate in anything. And I'm not saying that I need that, and I'm not a big Hellboy fan, so I don't really have a dog in that whole fight. But apparently the Hellboy comics, Mignola always saw these characters more as siblings than anything. So it seems really weird to him that they pair off Liz and Hellboy in the live action movie, and then they hint at like a romance going on with him in this, or going on with her and Abe Sapien in this.
Yeah.
That's a nice tender moment. There's a part of me that almost wants them. Once I see where it goes or doesn't go, I almost want them to just not even really talk about it.
It would be really funny if they like hooked up in this and like were a full couple in the next one, and then you go to see the next Del Toro movie, and Hellboy is still a thing.
I mean, I guess it would be weird if that happened and they didn't say anything about it, but
No, that'd be awesome. That'd be
Yeah,
like the MTV Spider-Man show where that takes place between the two Raimi movies, and that show ends with him throwing his costume away and being like, "I'm never gonna be Spider-Man again."
that's great. But yeah, it just turns into a really awkward joke about his like burping underwater, and I'm like, I didn't need that.
Yeah.
Like it was cute and tender for a minute, and they kind of ruined it.
No, we needed it to go full Shape of Water, not half-hearted.
So again, I would appreciate all of this a lot more if I knew some Japanese mythology. Like apparently cucumbers are a thing.
Oh, okay.
Like that's not a random thing they picked. Like that's in the lore. I just don't know the
Hmm.
lore, so I can't speak on it. But that's okay because I'm in good company. Hellboy also doesn't know the lore.
But he'll kill it.
He has no idea where he is.
No, and this frog guy fight feels like a comic bit too.
Oh, it really does. That thing is weird and creepy.
He's got the dumbest weakness of all time. He's got like a bowl on his head, and he has to keep his water in there.
My favorite part of this is when Hellboy just hands it to the man.
That's pretty good.
Like I love how he has no sense of decorum whatsoever. He's just like, take this undead creature. It's fantastic. I do have to say, I think I started to appreciate the appeal of this character a little more watching these, which is probably the biggest compliment I can give it.
Oh, okay. At least there's that. Like, it's not like you watch these and you're like, these are boring.
I mean, they are, but
no, but like you're not like like who cares about this character? He shouldn't exist.
no,
No, I'm a fan of Hellboy, and even I can admit that these movies, especially this one, do get boring.
No, what I found, I mean, I've always liked that basic idea of he's from hell. He has no interest in what his supposed destiny is supposed to be. He wants to be his own man. He wants to be a good person, do the right thing, but he also more just wants to be left the hell alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I found myself appreciating about him most, sitting down and watching me is just that kind of like antisocial, and the live action movies have this some to a degree too, but I got it even more from this just sort of like antisocial. I wish I didn't have to be a part of all of this supernatural stuff. Like I just want to be a guy. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to, I mean it's an obvious thing for a supernatural character like this or a superhero to wish they could have a regular life and not be able to have that. But it's interesting with Hellboy because he can't hide in any way.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and there's no secret to Hellboy in the comics like there is in the Del Toro version, and with these, there's like the part where I think it's in the second one where he's like, "Oh, we don't do pictures."
Yeah, and this in those he's kind of trapped, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like he's raised by Broom and the BPRD, but then ultimately it seems like he doesn't really have a choice in the matter, like
Mm-hmm.
whether he stays with them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's what I remember about it.
Yeah, like has to be a secret and can't get out. Well, and it's funny too, and obviously, this is where you would start when you're adapting Hellboy, but there is a little bit of that Spider-Man thing, where people complain that we go to high school too often, and the high school aspect isn't that big of a part of the Stan Lee comics.
Yeah.
Like, there is a little bit of that with Hellboy, where he quits the BPRD pretty early.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because he quits in Conqueror Worm, which, if you're going by the old trades, is the fifth one. So it's pretty early.
I like how Hellboy calls that thing a jerk for doing what it naturally does.
That's very Hellboy. Yeah.
That's great. It's like things don't go his way, and he's just like, God, why can't the universe coalesce to my will?
There's two things that he does. It's be like, this thing's a jerk, and go, crap.
The inherent kind of obvious character parallel between him and Liz that we use in the live action movies is here a little bit too. It's not as pronounced, but just the idea that both of them are trying to control powers that if they're not careful, they might enjoy using too much and turn into the bad guy. We dropped that pretty quick with Liz. It's almost like it's referenced just so that we know that that's the same character. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe because they know where the second one's going to go, because this is like tie-in material for that, because the second movie drops that. So I wonder if that's maybe part of it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I haven't watched those in forever.
Yeah, because by 2, she's already like in full control, so you don't really have as much of a question about it.
Yeah, well, and according to the producers, that idea was supposed to be here too, like, as these movies unfolded, she would get more comfortable with her powers.
That makes sense. But
yeah, this is clearly set up so much as a series of movies. It is really frustrating they didn't just make it a TV show in the first place. And especially because I realize that it's direct-to-video, but if this is supposed to be a movie, I really wish it was a little bit more cinematic and a little less TV than it is. And
yeah, I agree with that.
And that's not just a matter of budget. That's a matter of like style and choice. Stuff that doesn't necessarily cost you anything. You know, it's about placement of scenes. It's about where we decide to start. It's about grabbing you by the neck right out the gate, which it just doesn't really do.
No, I agree with that. Well, and even I feel like the opening where we kind of explain what Hellboy is feels like it would be the beginning of the theme song. Like you say that little bit over the logo, and then the song starts playing.
That's true, but it does have the theme of those movies.
Yep. No, we would have like a cool pop songy tune for a TV show theme.
See, all I'm imagining is it's just a parody of the Flintstones. Hellboy, meet Hellboy.
It should be the Clash's that go straight to Hellboy song. Every time I hear that, I'm like, oh, it's the Hellboy song, even though it's very clearly go to hell, comma, boy. I'm like, oh, go straight to Hellboy. He'll help me out.
I hate to admit that I did not call that this old woman was the fox. I feel like I should have called that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess if you're not like fully engaged, though, like it's one of those things you're probably not even thinking that it's setting up a twist.
Yeah, and it's just weird because again, because of the added 20 minutes, our supporting characters are really just here to establish dragons for the third act. And I don't think you even need them as a plot device to make that happen, but okay.
You can just have dragons.
You can just have them. It's fine.
Have Hellboy be like, it's King Ghidorah. I guess I'm fighting that now.
Oh wow, how cliche is that? It's your typical my baby in a carriage.
Yeah, and that'll happen in Hellboy too. And with a giant monster like this.
Is it like a sea monster? Is it like a Kraken type monster like this though?
No, it's a plant one, but it still grows out of the ground like that. Like
I remember that now.
Yeah.
The set building in that movie is nuts.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Let me read these couple of other super chats real quick. Ryder puts in a $2 super chat. Hellboy 2019 or nothing? ? Also, I'm Baba Yaga. I don't.
Oh, nice to meet you, Baba Yaga.
I don't fully understand that that super chat.
Well, Baba Yaga is one of the main Hellboy villains.
But why did you say that about 2019? Like, is that a joke about it being not very good, or
I don't know?
Does,
but I love
does
2019.
Does he like it, and he's hoping we'll do it soon? Like, I don't know what he's saying.
I don't know. But Hellboy 2019 is awesome. I love Hellboy 2019. It's so bad. I adore it.
Thanks for the super chat, though, writer. Chewbacca's Lover $5 super chat. Bearing in mind most kids watch PG-13 films, that's a family rating at this point. Do you think they intended kids to see this? Is it made just for adults?
Well, like I said to Cap, I feel like these kinds of movies are just for the initiated. Like it's only
Yeah.
for people who like Hellboy.
Yeah, which
So
you have to commend it for, honestly.
yeah,
Because there's
but
too many
it's,
things that are made for everybody else that doesn't care.
mhm. Well, how often do we say, who are these not DCAU, but these DC animated movies for? Because really, that line is for just the DC hardcore, but like sometimes we'll go kind of outside of that.
And doesn't really
Bring
appeal to
for.
them a lot of the time either because of the weird way it adapts things.
Yeah, so it's like if that's
Or
not
truncate
who you're
stories.
going for, who is your audience? Because like those are the people that will buy this.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that this aired on Cartoon Network and not super late at night, as far as I know, puts a little bit of a wrinkle in that.
Hmm. Yeah, and maybe they thought they could pick up some kids that liked the first movie or something.
I mean, the way the actual creators of the movie talk about it, because they addressed that, and like, yeah, they didn't make this for kids, but it might have been greenlit kind of for, a broader audience than the people that actually made it ended up making it for, which makes sense because they were basically given carte blanche. So they pretty much just made it for them and then hoped it all came out in the wash. And that's why I say it's pretty crazy that this aired, because it's really not for that younger audience.
Hmm. So I have a question for you, Cap, while we're looking at this next segment with the snake women. What do you think is the best segment here, and which monster that he fights do you think is the best? Ep.
It's hard not to give it to the heads, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably what it would be for me
But
too.
I think the most technically impressive stuff still is with the spider lady.
With the spider lady, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's really a bad one. Like,
There's not a bad one. No, I like them all.
Hmm.
And that's why I just want the whole movie to be that. And like, it wants to be a little bit, I don't know, it wants to be about a little bit more than just cool monster imagery, but at the end of the day, that's the main thing it's got going for it, right? Is that an atmosphere.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't really understand what its strengths are.
That's a great way to put that. And I like how weird and wacky it allows itself to get.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very Hellboy in that
You
way.
know, yeah, I mean, you can't say that it falls into too much of a commercial like mainstream trap.
Hmm.
That's not its issue. I think, and it's hard not to repeat myself because there's not a ton here to talk about.
Hmm. That's going
And
to be the issue when we get to the next one.
I
is
know
I feel like
we'll have said everything.
a lot of their issues are on both of them.
That's the problem when you're locked into a runtime, and this is only just over an hour. But trying to talk about this and make it interesting, it feels like we've been talking a little bit longer.
I will say I'm having a better viewing of it this time,
I guess I am too.
just because I
talking
get to enjoy the parts that I liked originally, but we're talking over the parts I wasn't.
that you didn't really care about. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't drag as much. And then I feel like when I got to the Hellboy parts, because it was dragging, like I was enjoying them less on a first viewing. So I'll give it that.
Yeah, honestly, it didn't hold my attention real well on first viewing, and I had a hard time not letting my mind wander.
Yeah, 100%. I wish I had some of these things in my house.
Yeah, this is a fun, trippy segment. Now, I do feel
it's Mrs. Potts or whatever from Beauty and the Beast.
yeah, or like now it's reminding me of stuff from Cuphead. But yeah, so you have these possessed inanimate objects, and apparently this is also Japanese lore stuff.
When she gave it a specific name, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Now,
Tsukugami, I think
let's watch this close because we cut away in the middle of this where she's being like choked out by a like living rug or something or scarf.
Like a scarf, yeah.
And then when we cut back later, I'm pretty sure she's conscious again and has just gotten that off of her. Like it plays like a cliffhanger where, oh my god, what's going to happen to her? And then I think they've just resolved it off screen. We'll see if I'm right.
If that is the case, if you're gonna add filler, add it to that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what I was going to say earlier is I feel like I'm supposed to really, feel for this ghost couple, and it would work okay if it was just more minimal screen time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene where they finally resolve it at the end works fine, but I'm a little bit annoyed because I've had to watch them for so long. I'm like, this is not really it is simpler than they're playing it.
Yeah,
As
I also
I feel
wonder
like.
if you maybe could cut some dialogue and have it mostly be visual. And that would play more into what you were saying with this not feeling super cinematic.
Yeah, because in some ways they're taking advantage of their medium really well.
Mm-hmm.
And doing all kinds of stuff that's easy to do in animation that's not in live action.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, it's a conqueror worm.
I will also complain that the soundtrack is too repetitious.
Mm-hmm.
Like to almost a Star Trek animated series sort of degree. It's fine. Like all the big epic horn music and stuff works okay, but there's a melody that plays like 50,000 times. It's clearly just the same, recorded sting over and over again. So I got to the end of this movie and I was like, if I have to hear ba da 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 like one more time, just over and over again.
If you have to hear it one more time, you're gonna be like, ah, crap.
Oh crap.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it until you said it, but like, they should just be a couple at the end of this movie.
Yeah. And for these, that might have worked.
Yeah, like, I don't care enough about the continuity. Just do it.
Yeah, well, and it is its own separate thing anyway. Like this is, I think, even just with these two movies, I don't know if you could argue that like they're tie-ins to those movies in that they exist to sell them and they're using that cast, but it's its own separate continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Like pretty clearly, I don't feel like I'm in the same world as those movies.
Oh, sure.
So you can do anything you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Chewbacca's Lover says it was at 8 o'clock on Cartoon Network. Okay, so they at least knew that it was going to be an older audience they wanted to aim this at.
You can say that again.
I'm so done with the soundtrack.
Yeah, and I don't have the like Ron Perlman has to be Hellboy thing, but he is really good.
Yeah. Well, again, he's just qualified.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Avatar Desto, he mentions that they aired on Cartoon Network in 07 and then later on Toonami in 08. But I think I read that they even brought one of them back in 10 for some reason.
Oh, weird.
I don't remember why though.
I don't know. All I know is that in Canada they loved these movies and like from like 2008 to 2010.
Because they were just on TV all the time.
Yeah, it's on TV all the time.
Yeah, I feel like I should show this to Mikey because of all the skeletons.
Oh, he would love that. He'd probably be bored during the rest of it, but he'd be like,
He probably would.
This red guy's cool.
Now, when he said earlier that PG-13 kind of just became the rating for family movies, and a lot of kids would watch those kinds of movies. That's absolutely true, but the kind of like chasm of or the spectrum, I should say, of the kind of material that you could get in away with in PG-13 was so wide that a lot of parents would feel the need, just depending on the subject matter, to look at a movie before they showed it to their kids. Like PG-13 doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be a little bit too graphic for kids of certain ages, depending on where they are in their development.
Well, I mean, if we're complaining about the ratings, like a lot of that's just because G went away, so
Yeah.
PG became the new G, and then PG.
Well, G didn't even go away. We just stopped making things in it.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like there's like no G movies, and then PG-13 became the blanket statement for anything that's not, for babies.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you have PG and PG-13, like that gives you a little bit more wiggle room for what could be in either.
I mean,
if
what
you're
I
using
what I
G.
like about this over something like Superman Doomsday is it's not shoving in like little bits of adult subject matter in an otherwise totally or relatively kid-friendly thing to go, look at us, we're for adults.
We're allowed to swear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't have any like pretentiousness or patting itself on the back about it.
Mm-hmm. No, the most it has in
just
terms
is
of
what it
that
is.
is just like swearing is just Hellboy says crap, but if you're making Hellboy and he doesn't say crap, then you fail.
Then you did it wrong, yeah. And
Yeah.
damn, you get some dams
Yeah,
in
damn
this.
too. Yeah, it's like swear words you can say in like 1990s Ninja Turtles.
I think I got a PG though.
Mm-hmm. Everything's changed.
But yeah, it is kind of refreshing to go back to one of these, and even though it's got pacing issues and it's too long, and I think, unfortunately, long bits of it are kind of dull. It doesn't have the same problems that we pointed out for like the Ultimate Avengers movies, which I think are really comparable to this. Where like, I don't know, it all makes sense. I don't feel like it's missing anything. I mean, the real issue is we added things, not that we took anything away.
Well, in those, I wish they had these Hellboy segments, because those are entirely just nothing. Like from start to finish.
Yeah, but there's almost no, like, logic questions or anything that I have. I mean, it helps that most of the rules you're dealing with are just arbitrary lore things that you just have to stick to.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with mythology, like it's allowed to not entirely make sense. I think like there is a real magic, I think, to making mythology.
Yeah. But also just in the internal logic, what we're given, there's not anything here that doesn't make sense.
No, exactly.
Like, it all works. I don't care about some of it.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a problem, but it all works okay. You know what part of the issue with this for me is too, Austin?
You're right. She's just here now.
Yeah, but even before that, I missed it because we were talking, but we actually cut back to her.
Oh, did we cut? Okay, I
for a minute, and she just has the scarf off. Yeah.
Okay, I must have missed that. I thought this was the first time we were seeing her since she got choked out.
No, I guess you'll just have to take my word for it.
Yeah. Wow.
Both of these have this to a degree, but this first one especially, it feels like a Ghostbusters story.
Okay. Yeah, I could see this as like an episode of like the real Ghostbusters or something. Ghostbusters go to Japan.
Yeah, like when I think Hellboy, I think more, demons and monsters, and this is much more of like a Ghostbusters type ghost story.
Mm-hmm. Well, and these guys are just straight up Ghostbusters.
They're just Ghostbusters.
Real Ghostbusters villains.
They're right out of real Ghostbusters. Yep.
Now I wish Slimer was in this movie.
So does my daughter Selena. Oh my God, does she love Slimer?
I feel like every kid loves Slimer. Slimer's cool.
She begged me yesterday to turn on some real Ghostbusters for her, which came out of nowhere.
She was like, but only at the point when it becomes more of a Slimer show. I don't want to see like the earlier episodes.
I don't know. All I know is she came up to me and she was like, Dad, I want to watch Ghostbusters, and then she goes, Dad, Slimer is green, and I was like, he sure is. My twins are 3 and they're adorable.
That just reminds me of that Norm Macdonald bit in his last special. It's like bananas are yellow. Yeah, they are. Hell yeah, man.
They sure are.
Slimer's green. You're damn right he is.
John said that he gave this movie 3.5 on Letterboxd, and he's starting to kind of regret it, maybe.
Yeah, you maybe should. Of men.
And then when we do get a one-liner from Hellboy, it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just showed up in the Ghostbusters universe.
But see, the issue is that when you're watching this stuff, it's like, yeah, it's at 3.5. But then when you're watching the BPRD scenes, you're like, it's like a 1.5.
1.5. Yeah, exactly. There's 2 separate movies here. One of them's all right.
Yeah, no, one of them's, I think, pretty good. But the other is super boring.
Seriously, this melody. Just stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
Crap.
Composer, you dumbass. Play some new tunes.
Another thing I had, well, I'm just gonna get everything I want to say out now, and then I have no idea what we're gonna talk about with the second movie. There's a little bit more going on there, but
Part 2 is just gonna be a karaoke stream.
But I was just gonna say one thing I had watching this was I had a real clear mental picture of what a more serious even than '03 Ninja Turtles cartoon would look like based on this. Like a Ninja Turtle show closer to this tone.
Yeah.
That went to Mirage style, but was patterned off of this a little bit, and wasn't padded and boring. There's a lot of caveats there, but
well, now we've got to see them cross over, Hellboy and the Turtles.
Oh yeah, with Injustice, which somebody was talking about earlier. Yeah, somebody said, Avatar Desto. I like the Hellboy and Injustice voiced by Bruce Barker. I don't know who that is. Well.
Yeah, I didn't know who voiced him, but I really like his voice. He's one of my mains in that game.
Yeah, I haven't played with him all that much.
A lot of people don't like him because he's like a slower character, but I find I'm really good with slow characters, and that and Mortal Kombat.
So do you play with, like, God, I'm trying to remember that roster now. Is Darkseid in that game? I think he is.
Yes, I like a little bit, but like I like Swamp Thing, and he's I think one of the most hated characters in that game because he's really slow.
Yeah.
RoboCop is one of my mains in Mortal Kombat 11, but people don't like him because he's slow.
Yeah. That's funny.
I don't know. Part of it was I was just really excited to be able to play as Hellboy in a fighting game.
Yeah, no,
so I was like, no matter
really
what,
cool.
like I will be good as him.
Well, and of course, I was stoked about Ninja Turtles, and they handled that really well.
Yeah, both of them are really good, like cameo characters.
And just the way you can go in and out of each of the turtles. I know this is supposed to be a rewind commentary. We're not talking about this movie now.
No, we're just talking about.
Well, it's just your big obligatory climax. I mean, one of my issues too is you realize that there's a little bit too much of a formula going on when you get to the second movie, where you think you've beaten your main bad guy, and then there's more to fight. Except the second movie does it like 3 times.
Mm.
That movie feels like it might be over 45 minutes in.
Yeah, for sure. So since we're just watching nothing, can I put out a pet peeve about the injustice thing?
Sure.
So sometimes I find NetherRealm is really bad, where they'll have really cool guest characters, but they're in like they'll separate them, and I'm like, oh, well, like I want to be able to fight this person as that person. It's really sad I can't kick Spawn's ass as Hellboy, because one's in Mortal Kombat 11 and the other's in Injustice 2. I wish they were in the same game.
Yeah, and they have the same engine. It should be that hard to port characters over.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great
I
point.
wish I could do that.
John says that would be the twist. It just ends. So no, that's all you get. Read a book.
Gremlins get into the projector and the movie turns on.
Now it's too short to even do a rewind on it.
Oh, okay, so let's just stop now.
I can't remember if it's this movie or the next one. I think it's this one where when Hellboy comes back, because we were talking over it. See, you got the swirling vortex in the sky. It's a Ghostbusters movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Hellboy
He's got
goes.
Katana's sword.
You know what? I had that thought too. The first Suicide Squad movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you get Kate meeting Hellboy when he comes back from Japan, or from what apparently is like a surreal alternate dimension version of Japan. I had to read a synopsis to get that from it. I didn't even realize that. I wasn't sure exactly where he was, but I thought it was somehow actually Japan, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it feels like, I mean, yeah, he's like in kind of like another dimension when he's like walking out with the fox and stuff, but like once he gets to the climax with them, he's definitely back in Japan.
Right, but I mean, like, while he was doing all that, I thought he was in specific places in Japan, but no.
No, because he picks up something and like teleports him into the Japanese realm.
But yeah, there's a lot of unfortunate, inconsistent animation when anybody's like clothes or skin or anything changes. So when Kate walks up to Hellboy when he comes back, she's like, "You look awful," and he looks exactly the same as he has the entire movie.
He should have been like, "You look like you just got choked out."
And then in the second, oh, you know what? This also kind of has that double fake out thing. We're like, we're not gonna fight a villain again, but it feels like the movie's wrapping up, and then, oh no, Kate got possessed. So I mean, at least all of our supporting characters kind of get something to do. Not that it necessarily reveals much about their character, but I mean, it makes sense that we have to resolve this. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying they both do end up kind of doing that. It's an observation before it's a criticism.
No, I get it.
Although by the second one, I was starting to kind of read formula in it. So I guess I am criticizing the second one a little bit for that. But I don't know. But I love the way Hellboy resolves this, where he's like, look, we're going to be stuck doing this forever. It kind of feels like a causality loop.
And you're never gonna
win. Yeah, he's so good. And his performance is a little different than live action movies just because
it's different material. These aren't doing the like boy part of Hellboy thing, like the Del Toro movies bring.
Which is the main thing I don't really care for with them, but Chewbacca's Lover, this would be a streaming series if it came out now instead of a direct-to-video movie. Yeah, probably, except Hellboy's kind of at its best when it's anthology stories, so I still don't think it would be a long-form story told over several episodes. There could be kind of like a thread that goes through them, of course.
Yeah, that I could see. Like maybe you're building up the Nazi stuff. Because there are definitely eras of Hellboy.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed that his coat is still ripped here. Because there are places where it's starting to get messed up and then they forget about it, or they just... What it really was they would send it to the overseas studio, and then they had to kind of pick their battles with what they had time to give notes on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess if it's that rush, you just kind of have to take it as it is.
Yeah, so like those commentaries did give me some good insights, just generally in how this stuff is made and why some of those silly mistakes happen sometimes.
Hmm.
So like in the second one, you have that with Ape Sapien after the torture scene, or in the middle of the torture scene when he starts to escape, he goes from being all cut up and having blood all over him to nothing at all.
We got better.
He got better very fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well we knocked one out. You're right. I mean that's more fun talking over it.
Hmm. Yeah, like a lot more fun, I thought. A lot more fun.
Which is not exactly a compliment.
No, like not at all.
But anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll come back and knock out the second one.
Yeah.
I've got to switch discs here.
Oh, see, mine are all on one disc. I guess that's
Well,
Blu-ray
mine's
technology.
a DVD
Yeah,
too, so you couldn't get more than a couple hours on a disc,
that's true.
or more than I don't know, like 3 hours on a disc. But
No,
stick
very
with
true.
us if you're so inclined, folks. I know it's getting late, but we call this a double feature, and gosh darn it, we're gonna finish it.
There's gonna be blood and iron when we come back.
Blood and iron.
Hmm.
Anyway, folks, we'll see you in just a little bit. Austin, you're not muted. Everybody can hear your music.
Oh.
I thought I was just muted. Oh, so I thought it was like the stream is muted.
No, that's not how that works. Because I have to have it on so that people can hear the music I'm playing.
Oh, but I don't know. For some reason, I thought that you couldn't hear either of us during. I don't know. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I mute myself manually, and then anything coming through the.
Whoops.
That was funny.
Well, anyone who got to hear that got to hear me listening to the Clash's "Go Straight to Hell." So.
See, it was thematically relevant.
Exactly. Go straight to Hellboy.
I know I enjoyed it.
Can never go wrong with the Clash.
I really enjoy anytime you make a mistake, honestly.
And it's so rare.
Now, it happens a lot, and I revel in it constantly.
Oh.
Okay, it's time for another hour and 15 minutes of this.
Yep.
We're going to watch the better
Stroller.
one. The marginally better one. This is Blood and Iron. It came out the very next year, really just a few months after the first one.
Well, mine's been just playing this whole time.
Oh, really? So you're like, I don't have to watch the rest of it.
No, I came back from break and I was like, oh, this movie's just playing.
Those of you that are still with us, get it at timestamp 0. Get ready to press play when we say now. We're going to do one more, and Austin's going to do all the talking.
Yippee. And this one I did not have a chance to reread because they say it's inspired by Wake the Devil, which I haven't read in a long time. But that's like a 200-page book, so
Okay.
I did not have a chance to reread it.
How much do you think, though, they actually went to that?
It's been so long, like I barely remember the story, but
Okay.
I would say probably not much. But
Well,
it
let's
could
go
be
ahead-
quite a bit.
Let's go ahead and get right into it, folks. Everybody, please press play right now.
So yeah, it was a Stars logo before the movie.
Yeah.
So I was being dumb.
So you do have the same thing. No, you weren't. You just weren't looking at your screen yet.
Look, now it's the intro. We're about to get the theme song because it's a TV show.
It does feel like it should, especially because they both have the same little introductory piece just to remind you about Hellboy's background.
Yeah, it's just like in 19 whatever Hellboy came. Go straight to Hellboy.
These are people who died.
All the people that died.
That's a good Hellboy theme song.
And all my friends, they died.
Okay, so I don't know that I'll ever come back and watch these again, but if I did, there's a thing that they bring up in the commentary for this movie that I would not be able to unsee, which is so this opening was tacked on real late in the production. This was not originally what the credits were supposed to be. But a couple of scenes after this, they leave in what was supposed to be the credits. So there's this establishing shot in the first broom flashback that goes on way too long because it was supposed to have credits over it.
That's awesome. That feels like it's like almost like an animated Tales from the Crypt opening.
Yeah, it really looks like that, and it's that mid-2000s CG, and they are real proud of it in that commentary.
Oh yeah, I bet.
It doesn't look bad or anything, but it's just funny how proud of it they are.
It looks fine. It looks pretty good. I was surprised they got John Hurt back for this.
I was too.
I was just thinking that because obviously, we were just watching the credits, but
yeah, and they talked about how they had to ask him to play it slightly differently because their characterization for him is not exactly what he played in the movies.
Yeah,
or the movies, the movie, I guess.
Oh, he's in 2 for like a scene.
I couldn't remember. I thought he got killed off in the first one.
He does, but there's like a prequel scene.
Yeah, you always gotta have that.
Yeah, well, because they do with what you were complaining about last time with your telling mythology thing, um, where he's telling Hellboy the story of the Golden Army when he's a little kid, and you get like the little animation of it, and he's there for that.
So I got to repeat myself from the last movie again, and say once again, this wasn't supposed to be the opening scene.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Once again, Hellboy was not supposed to be in the opening, and Cartoon Network was like, hey, could you put Hellboy into the opening? Why did they have to keep telling them that? It was the only mandate they had. And it's a pretty fair one, I think.
Well, and it's got this cool guy, this bull guy.
Yeah, which Mignola talked about being a thing he puts a lot in comics.
Oh, 100% he does. But it should have been Cygor, because like when I think of Hellboy comics, I think of gorillas with this arm.
Should have been Cygor.
Well, and this arm thing does show up in Hellboy 2 as well.
Yeah, he talked about that in the commentary.
Yeah. This is just a very Hellboy 2 or Hellboy thing to do.
I should also mention with those talks on the discs that Mignola is a little bit cheeky, I feel like, about the things that he's not in love with adaptation.
Oh, sure.
Where they'll talk about the writer and director, they'll talk about translating something like directly to screen, or like we made it look exactly like it was in the comics, and Mignola will be like, I mean, not exactly. He'll kind of poke fun of him and throw shade a little bit.
I was surprised watching the trailer for the new documentary about him. A big part of that trailer is the movie, and it's not like especially nice about it. Like it's Mignola being like I was looking at the stuff and being like, yeah, like this isn't like you're doing it wrong. And I'm not shocked that you say that, because there's like a bit where he talks about talking to Del Toro about a part of the story and making a comment like, yeah, like the stupid movie you made or something like that.
Wow.
And because I've always heard
this was supposed to have credits over it.
Okay, I can see that.
Look, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And it's going. And it's going.
Well, Mignola's always said, he wants people, when they adapt his stuff, to make it their own. And it sounds like that's maybe come more so out of just accepting it. Because he also said that, he would say things and be like, well, you have to do it this way. My Hellboy wouldn't do this. And Del Toro would be like, yeah, it's not your Hellboy, it's mine. And he was like, okay.
I feel like that's exactly what happened to Eastman and Laird, except it's a lesson they learned earlier.
Hmm. Yeah, possibly.
Because the first thing that adapted their work was so different and polar opposite.
Was the 80s cartoon?
That they just had to learn to accept that stuff. And then they had to adapt it 100,000 different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
at this point, when they sign off on something, like, why is anybody surprised? I feel like they'd sign off on anything at this point. Mm-hmm. Not anything. Laird's got that, I don't want female turtles thing. But Eastman doesn't have that, which is why that's all over IDW now.
Oh, okay, so they both don't have to sign off on that stuff?
Yeah, the rights with it. Well, especially not anymore, because Nickelodeon, bought it from them. But
oh yeah, true. Well, I was just thinking, because I always assumed they both had to sign off, but like one of them would be more involved and the other wouldn't. But I was like, I don't know too much about that stuff.
Yeah, well, we should get back to this, but their rights even before Nickelodeon were different, each of them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I digress. How do you feel about the flashback structure with this?
I don't know, it's just kind of there. It feels like it's more so there to give John Hurt more to do.
Well, I mean, I get that in constantly going back to the flashbacks, but it's in reverse order.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering what you thought about that choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely strange. I guess
Because
it
I'm
wasn't
trying to
really.
decide how necessary it was to do it that way. Because I was a little confused by it at first, and they're doing this sort of memento thing with it, where they're showing us what happens at the tail end of it, in order to show you how this demon uh, died. You know how they took care of that, and then slowly we're getting like character development for Broom and the priest, like in working backwards.
Mhm.
So the priest is all terrified at the start of this and runs off, and you don't know why. And then like slowly we learn that as we go along. But on first viewing, I just wasn't engaged enough in the flashback stuff to even realize for a while that we were going backwards. It took me a bit to even catch that.
Mhm. But I think it works in the sense that with the when you structure it that way, we're starting with the scene, so it maybe builds suspense about what's happening as opposed to them kind of finding out things before they get there.
Yeah, and admittedly, having seen this week for the first time, I know it super well yet. So
Mhm.
if I wonder if on repeat viewings, it would be clear that each of the flashback scenes is more relevant to the very next thing we're about to deal with in the present. Because
Mhm.
if they set it up that way, that's pretty sophisticated. But I'm not sure how arbitrary it reads. Besides the opening and closing, because it does make sense to see this right before she, right before we find out that she's come back.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
So like this is how they dispatched of her in the first place. Now she's back.
When I also said to give John Hurt more time, but I forgot he's actually not the voice of young Broom, so it's not even for that.
Yeah, yeah. When you said that, I guess I wasn't even thinking about the actor. I was just thinking about the character.
Yeah. No, I said that, and then I was like, oh yeah, wait a minute, he's not even the voice of the young version.
This is a visually much darker movie than the first one.
Yeah, and I
Like
think
I'm
that's
sitting
why
here
I
really
liked it
wanting to turn
more.
my light off, but then you guys won't be able to see me. Like it's
I
actually
have
kind of
totally.
hard to look at.
I have that a bit. I had that in the last movie in one scene, and this one it's really having that.
So now that they've got their crew together, and they've kind of established what they want their look and tone for these movies to be, the second movie is more of a piece. Like it's tighter in every way, even though I still think it's a little long in the tooth, but not
Mhm.
in that like we tack 20 minutes on kind of way. It's just there's also kind of a pacing they established in the first movie, even without those other 20 minutes, that I just fundamentally think is too decompressed. It's too slow.
Mhm.
But
Well, because I feel like these still aren't 90-minute stories that we're doing.
yeah, I mean, 75, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
But I also
where is?
think that the single some of the like apologies, I'm getting tired, it's getting late. Some of the best bits of animation just in isolated scenes are in the first movie. And so overall this is more of a piece, but I don't think there's anything in this movie that impresses me as much as a couple of the things from the first one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what I liked about this more as a kid and like a little bit more now, I guess, is just that some of the vampire stuff I really like. So it's a more interesting antagonist for me, I
Yeah,
guess.
absolutely. Well, and I also
That
think
this is
it's
more gothic.
slightly more interesting thematically too. Like that first movie, there's this it's not really driven home, but with that bad guy, with that ghost, there's this idea of misplaced honor, where like maybe honor and etiquette should be more of a case by case thing than it always applies, it always supersedes anything else, because you have that couple that gets trapped in the sword that uh kind of save the day for the daimyo, but the way they do it, I or the way that guy does it, I guess, is in daimyo's mind dishonorable, and so he has to kill them anyway. And then the main theme, and that theme doesn't really connect up with Hellboy or any of our side characters in any real noticeable clear way that I picked up on, at least on first viewing.
Mm-hmm.
And here you have this vanity theme, which is of course tied to mortality, and with Broom getting really elderly and then being intertwined in all of that and being the guy that took care of her in the first place. That idea comes much more to the fore, and it feels like it's all of a piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, overall, it's just a much tighter movie. This feels right out of a TV show. Like, this is like an episode joke where we open with their like eating donuts, and the boss is like, you gotta do this, Rush. You can't eat donuts all day, Hellboy.
But I like that we're doing the mundane office stuff.
No, I do too. This feels like the opening of an episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's Winnie the Pooh.
Yep, there he is. But I like the interpersonal dynamics overall more in this movie, and I like that we get a lot of that kind of dry-witted banter that is some of that's in the movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know what it's like in the BPRD comics because I've never read those.
Yeah, and I haven't read the actual like BPRD comics. At some point I will, because I really want to. But in Hellboy, it's very much just, he will have like a different person from book to book that he hangs out with.
And we're really going to the standard voiceover well here too, because we've also got Rob Paulson
and Gray DeLise. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. That's probably wrong. Gray de Isle.
And then I like that we're dealing with, the Bureau being bogged down by bureaucracy.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. We're going to do this mission because this person in the government wants you to do this, and he specifically wants Hellboy.
And then there's this nice bit of intrigue and mystery right away where Broom's like, oh, we got to take the whole major important crew. We got to take all the bridge crew. Mm-hmm. And then this guy's like, why? This is not going to turn into anything. I also, this is a trope in a situation I always like, Austin, where you take characters that are used to dealing with supernatural things and you put them in a situation where they're skeptical of whether anything supernatural is actually going on. And so they go to an ostensible haunted house, and they're basically like anybody would be like following around a crew on like one of those haunted house shows. They're like, there's not gonna be anything here. Like nothing's going on.
No, I like that as a premise as well. You kind of deal with like the actual fake, people just trying to make money off of this stuff, and you have characters who deal with the real things that are maybe to a degree like annoyed that there's people that fake it.
What was the comic that you and I reviewed recently that did that, where it turned out the house was alive at the end?
Oh, it was Doctor Strange.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah, we just read something that's exactly that premise.
Yeah, that's a great issue too.
Thomas Lowe, do you think this story can work in the Del Toro version of Hellboy?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you have to not kill Broom off right away.
Yeah,
but beyond that,
also not the type of thing that I think Del Toro would go for with his Hellboy stuff. Like, even if he did go for the story, like, it would be very different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's the question as to what kind of supernatural stuff that version of this character dealt with back then.
Hmm. Well, and my thing with Del Toro Hellboy is that I think the first one's a not great adaptation of Hellboy, and then the second one is just Del Toro doing his own thing. And like it's basically Hellboy's Batman Returns in that way. And I don't think his third movie would have been adapting anything either. I think he would have just continued that.
Yeah, but it would have been more heavy in mythology, even if it was his own.
Hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because he would have had to wrap up all the Right Hand of Doom stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I just mean like in the sense that like I don't know if this is the type of thing he would go for, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's a good question though.
Hmm. But that's why two is the better of the two movies because it's just Del Toro making a Del Toro movie.
Yeah, I really kind of latched on to Kate in that first movie and wanted her to have a little bit more to do here.
Oh sure. Well, we have a way bigger team in this one.
Yeah.
We maybe could have left Abe and Liz back.
For this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really feeling like they're supposed to be the sidekick characters, and this is supposed to be like a TOS triad or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. Well, if I remember right, I think Kate's like the main person he goes with in the comic that this is based on.
Yeah, I think that was talked about in that commentary too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's not Broom, because Broom's already dead at this point.
Yeah, and hilariously, Mignola says he was surprised that eventually he ended up doing so much with that character because originally he wanted to kill her off really early because she's hard to draw.
Oh, with that kid?
Yeah.
That's really funny. Sorry, at first I thought you were talking about Broom.
No, Kate.
Because Broom in the comics dies like 2 pages in.
Yeah.
Like, it's really funny.
He's like the Shredder.
Yeah. So it's really funny that he's, as big as he is in adaptation. Not that there isn't prequel material with him, but...
So I don't mean to keep harping on this flashback question, but I am going to go back to it for a second just to say I do kind of question how much of this is necessary, not just in the structure of it, like in going backwards, but just if we really needed to live this long in this, like it does kind of feel like 2 different stories.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yes, one informs the other, but am I getting enough like character development for Broom with the stuff that I really need to spend this much of the movie in the past?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's the padding of this movie, I think.
And that's part of where I get off saying that there was a structure established in the first movie that I wish this hadn't followed, because it's kind of doing the same thing that did with the daimyo and the sword story.
Yeah.
Except it's just structured differently, but we still spend way too much time there. I'm more invested in it. I care more about this, but only marginally so.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. Hello, I'm Mr. Bad Guy.
Hi there, I'm poor Jason Wynn.
He does kind of look like Jason Wynn.
He's like a cross between Jason Wynn and
Tony Stark.
And I don't think you'll know about this, but Xanatos from Gargoyles.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He also is kind of Ultimate Avengers Tony Stark in design.
Yeah.
A little bit, but with the Ultimate Spider-Man haircut.
What we're really saying is he's every rich comic character with a beard.
And Ultimate Spider-Man's haircut.
Oh, basically. Yeah. Ultimate Spider-Man's haircut is not a rich guy.
Yeah. No, that's a terrible haircut. So many ghosts.
Or at least a lot of ghost sounds.
Yep.
So Rob Paulson
Is that going to be
Rob Paulson is just
one?
doing his Arthur voice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just sounds like the way he does Arthur. Anyway, what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, because in the last one you were annoyed by how often they did the same music sting, and this one is it going to be from the amount of times they go?
No, I'll take that, man.
Oh, okay.
Over just every 3.5 minutes. Da da da. Stop it. Yeah, there's like 2 of them, and I realized that was the one that happens more often.
I was thinking about that Arthur thing because he's this agent guy, right? Or am I wrong about that?
Who now?
The guy you said, Rob Paulson doing his Arthur voice.
Yeah, Paulson's the guy with the glasses that's the human metal detector.
Yeah, he already kind of looks like Arthur, like a Tick character with his glasses.
No, he totally looks like a Tick character.
So maybe he's just Arthur after he stopped wearing the suit and he became a BPRD agent.
Oh, wow. And got taller and skinnier, which, like, he gets skinnier, but taller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing it a little straighter, but...
Well, he got the Tick to, like, stretch him out. He was like, he tied a rope to his arms and to his legs, and the Tick pulled him.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these supporting characters in both movies we could just go a little farther with.
A little bit more character development, you mean?
Yeah, or just give him a little bit more to do. Like the human metal detector guy is kind of a plot device for like one thing to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and with this, I feel like we only have so much time, and there's just so many characters.
It also took me a little while to understand what was meant by human metal detector, because I thought at first it meant he was like a metal detector for humans, like he could find humans.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's just he's the lamest version of Magneto ever. I do like Hellboy's, we deal with this in the first movie, but his disdain for psychics. I always thought that was an interesting idea, and I don't know if that's comic book at all, where he doesn't like psychic people, but the idea that he doesn't like the idea that he's not in control of his own destiny makes a lot of sense. That he wouldn't like people that can see the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I meant to mention that.
Annoyed at people, so yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but they really drive that home in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Del Toro movies, I think that's a thing.
Well, and I feel like
I can't remember.
This is another way we are going more into the comics, is that we took away that stuff from Abe, where Del Toro adds it, where in the Del Toro movies, Abe Sapien's like a mind reader and stuff.
Oh yeah,
where he can like touch you and like he can like feel things. In the comics, he's just a fish man, and that's basically what he is here too.
See, I like how calm and collected Abe Sapien is with these really disturbing things happening around him, because it's just another day at the office.
Yeah. He's just used to it at this point.
And I think they strike a good balance with that, where these guys can be put off and a little freaked out when things get really weird. Because otherwise, you'd be like, well, why am I supposed to be scared if my protagonist can't be affected by any of this? But they have to have a different level of it. You know, you kind of a professionalism about it than you or I would.
Well, I guess that's another way in which it's like Ghostbusters is a premise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then we get into that age-old question that we can't get away from, which is, everybody say it with me, is Hellboy a superhero? And I feel like he falls into that category of the genre is superhero, but I don't know if he is exactly. Like it's just like Constantine.
He's definitely like a pulp hero at the very least.
Sure. But like the fact that he works for an organization makes it a little bit tougher to classify him that way.
Yeah, so he's almost more of a superhero after he leaves.
Sure. But like right now he's with them.
Hmm. Well, one thing that's, in the comics that the movies never really touch on, that I'd like to see them do, is that he lives in more of like a superhero-y world. At least, like going back, where like there is some like kind of Kirby-ish characters that were around during World War II.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that's what Lobster Johnson is, of course.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and I
And
like that they have kind of a tender moment together.
mhm.
I like that they're not blatantly like a father and son relationship in front of everyone. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Like they still have a working relationship when they're around people.
yeah. Well, and they're just not like, overtly friendly, but they clearly have, admiration and affection for each other.
Hmm.
And I think it's genuinely touching later when they're worried about his safety, and clearly there's kind of this unspoken thing where they all know that he's not going to be around much longer.
Hmm. Yeah, I
That's
like a
real
lot of that
tender and
stuff where
plays nicely.
they know that he's like really getting up there, and especially when they try to handle him with kind of kid gloves about things, and he's like, like I can still do it.
Yeah,
And he
Rob
never
Paulson,
shoots
he's a
that.
professional, man. He can make it sound like he's got his mouth full of donut. He probably just had a mouthful of donut. Hey, Chewbacca's Lover put in a $5 super chat and says, "I was so into this genre as a kid. PG-13 animated movies. That's a genre, Austin."
It is a genre.
He says, "I thought it was going to be the next big thing. It wasn't. I wanted this for everything." Well, again, I mean, DC made them forever. There
They're
were
still making them,
there were quite a yeah,
unfortunately.
maybe not for much longer, but they are still making them.
Hmm.
I But yeah,
Yeah.
as far as like next big thing goes, like I don't know when that started, like I always thought that would be kind of a small potatoes thing, relegated to the diehard fans that found him at Walmart and Target. But
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they were going to theaters, maybe it could have taken off a little bit more, but
well,
with
and if you'd have some more high profile ones early, that like the ones later that would get Fathom releases and stuff, like I could have seen a universe where they were a bigger deal, but you would
Mhm.
have Warner Brothers would have had to bankroll them right in the first place, and
Yeah.
they not cut the corners, the kind of corners they had to cut, and not hold them back with like you can only have the really popular names so that we can sell these, especially
Mhm.
after Wonder Woman didn't do very well. So you got to that famous place where it's like you can only have like Batman, Superman, Justice League.
Mhm.
That held them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think of a lot of this stuff, the biggest issue is that a lot of them just really suck. Like
Yeah,
they in a way were the tie-in video games of film.
that's right. Yeah,
You know, like I don't know, there's maybe like five of the DC line that I really like, and outside of that, like there's a couple outside of that that are like okay, and then the rest of them are just really bad.
yeah, and that's 5 out of like 25 or 30.
Yeah, no,
There's a lot
exactly,
of them.
and that's counting like two parters as one movie because you might as well, I
No,
think.
of course. Well, and if
And
they'd
like
had
the
the
Marvel
budget,
ones all suck.
they would have put them out that way in the first place.
Yeah, I mean we've been real critical of these, and I think these are like up there for a lot of the ones I've seen.
Yeah, there's a number of DC ones that I find more entertaining than this, certainly. I but there are some things that these are doing better than a lot of those did.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Just partly in the way they like just generally adapt their material, and good kind of atmospheric scenes, and again just making something where they know who it's for in the first place.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Like, one thing you can say, these aren't timid. They're a little boring, but they're not timid.
Hmm. I mean, they had the confidence to have snake women and flying heads and stuff in the last one.
Yeah. They're not apologizing for anything. I mean, they're not afraid to put like torture devices and a um a scene where a guy gets tortured in this one.
Hmm. Yeah, and some blood and stuff.
And none of that feels like it's there because we're trying to impress anybody either. It's just that this is what those stories are about.
Hmm. Well, and a lot of those DC ones really struggled with that.
Yep. Here it's like, well, this is the mythology we're using. We're doing
It's just the
vampires.
material, yeah.
Yeah. I did kind of wonder if they'd made a third one, if they would keep this kind of globe-trotting thing where we go to yet a third mythology in the next one.
Yeah, it's hard to say because, like I said earlier, they're setting up Lobster Johnson to be like a big part of the third one, but you can't really do Conqueror Worm, or if you do, it's got to be very different.
You're gonna have to point that out. How did I miss that? Where is he?
He's like just at the very end, like it's just black, and then it's like I think it just like flashes him.
Did I turn it off before that happened?
Probably, this sucks.
So, something really curious on that commentary is those guys. I gotta name names. It's at least Tad Stones, and then I forget who else. Again,
And Mike Mignola being like,
maybe Weinstein. I
"This
can't
is
remember.
your movie."
No, but what I was gonna say is there's this weird thing where in that church they make a big deal out of how like massive the inside of that church is, and I'm like, it's not though. What are you talking about? It had
I
like
guess
10 pews on each side. It's not that big of a church. Like, I don't know what they're talking about.
maybe like the ceiling's really high because I mean I guess that's true.
Sure, it's got a high ceiling, but they acted like it was this massive building. They were like, it's small on the outside, but it's really big inside. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, we really had to scale it back. Like, we were making it too big. And I'm like, I don't understand this conversation.
And Mike Mignola's just like, if I drew the church, it would be accurate.
It would be the size you're claiming it is.
Yeah, it would actually be big.
I feel like a Hellboy Spawn crossover is just right there.
Yeah. I mean, they're both 90s superhero horror things.
That come from hell.
And both creator owned and both wildly different quality.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And goals, really. Like, they're both doing different things, but
yeah, but they start from sort of, like, I don't know. I was going to say sort of similar places. It's kind of interesting that, like, one of them is a demon from hell who, like, has no interest in being that and doesn't know if he can get away from his destiny. And then the other one was an arguably terrible person in life who becomes a demon and is fighting the same thing, but has less of a, leg to stand on, I guess.
well, if they're going to cross over, the only reason I want to see this is just that Hellboy can make fun of the Violator brother names, and for Hellboy to fight Cygor.
Cygor, yeah, I saw that coming. Although Hellboy versus Overkill would also be pretty great.
Yes, I want his head to shoot off at Hellboy, and he catches it with his right hand.
Thomas Lowe, what do you think the reason Hellboy didn't take off in popularity is, particularly in comics after the Del Toro movies came out?
In terms of just, I guess, overall pop culture, does the first film do that well? I'm trying to remember. Like, I feel like
I think it did just good enough to get a sequel. I don't think those were ever big.
Yeah, I feel like they're just kind of like a niche thing. I've heard Mignola talk about it, and that he's like, if I knew this was going to be like a big, franchise across multiple medias, I wouldn't have called it Hellboy.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think some of it is the name because the word boy I think is maybe kind of a kiss of death because it just sounds like no matter what you do with the material, it just sounds like it's for children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's
And
basically
it
just something that he thought was funny.
and it also sounds like a well, yeah, I mean it has that in common with Ninja Turtles, but it also sounds like a spin-off of something. Like, what else starts with something boy that's not like a kid sidekick based on something else?
True, yeah. But even given that, like, in terms of film and stuff, like, it's more niche, but like Hellboy's done pretty well in the grand scheme of things in pop culture.
Sure, I would argue that it's like one step above, yeah, maybe a couple steps above the Tig.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not gonna have mass appeal. I don't think any way you slice it.
Mm.
That's always going to be for more of a niche audience, just based on that premise and the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not like people don't like pulp monster stuff, but it's not as big of a draw as like mainstream superhero things have tended to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
For
then
sure.
the Tick was kind of niche because it was a parody thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you
And
got
this is
you got to
obviously
appreciate that
more
kind of comedy.
popular, but like Mignola's kept it in the public eye more than like McFarlane with Spawn, for example. Like obviously that was much more popular.
Yeah, because that got huge, but a lot of that's just because of that costume. Like it
Mhm.
has that superhero appeal in the first place.
Yeah.
And then of course when you go back to Ninja Turtles, that's just an anomaly.
Hmm. No, exactly. But like we got a new movie out. We got not a AAA game, but like we did get a new game this year. Um, he was in Injustice a few years ago. Like he's just kind of steadily around.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said a couple notches above the Tick, because like it's had
No,
three
I,
TV
I agree
shows,
with that.
but just
Yeah.
every now and again something will happen with that.
Mhm. No, that takes had a show every decade since the 90s. And I guess Hellboy technically has that with films since going back to the 2000s. But he only just snuck it in with 2019.
So, how strong do you think this villain is? I mean, especially compared to the first movie. I think she's pretty menacing.
Yeah, I think so too. When I've always liked the vampire that bathes in blood over just drinking it.
Oh, sure.
I think this was the first time I'd ever seen that as a kid, and it was like, whoa, that's crazy. And obviously, that goes back a long time, but
Well, the craziest shot I can't believe they put on Cartoon Network at any time of day is the one we just saw with the baby bassinet with the blood on it.
oh yeah,
That's kind of nuts.
yeah, it goes to some pretty dark places. Well, and, you talked about the one guy's just Arthur. This is that grade the least woman that don't know how to pronounce her name, but this is just Daphne if she were foreign, like
Well,
Daphne from Scooby Doo.
and I got to look this up because she sounds a lot like a Tick villain, and I bet she played that, and I didn't realize it.
She probably is. She's also Arkham Catwoman too, if you don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like everywhere.
Well, she does a great job in that.
Mm. No,
We're not
she's
talking a lot about this
eccentric.
film.
No, not really. But but a lot of it was both films have a lot of the same pros and cons. So like
Right.
we got so much of that out in the last one.
We've already kind of dealt with that.
Hmm.
Like I said, we're looking at more flashback stuff, and again, great atmosphere, some nice creepy stuff happening.
Yeah, I like the shadow work in this one.
I guess I'll say some of this feels more worth having around than some of the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. You're ready to go to bed like Broom.
Well,
Like,
and I also like that that particular one was kind of kept in scene, and I wish we came up with decent conceits to do that with all of it.
mm-hmm.
Right, Liz is actually watching footage of it. That is an excellent fake accent, guy.
I showed my cousin the movie Howling 2 the other day, and his accent reminded me of a guy in that movie where they're walking around and they see like this old gypsy woman that's been hit by a car, and this guy's like, "This woman, she was hit by a car." So that's that guy.
I kind of half expected Rob Paulson's character to just pass out at the sight of blood.
Yeah, he sounds like he would.
He was
But
like,
he's
"Oh,
got metal to find.
that's blood." I'm like, "Yeah, I think Hellboy can tell what blood is." And also, he has all these places where he's smiling when I think he's supposed to look like really disconcerted by something. And again, it looks like Arthur smiled, so it cracks me up.
They had to use him to find the switch, even though it was just a different colored brick.
Yeah, I don't know what that had to do with metal. It seems like he's just good at finding things.
He's good at finding obvious things.
Yeah. He should just pass out right there. So I'm right that that's what the interpretation was supposed to be, but that it didn't translate. Because he's like, blood, that's blood. He sounded almost excited about it, but it was supposed to be, oh my God, it's blood. And then he sees a whole bathtub full of it, and he should pass out.
Ah, crap. Blood.
But yeah, at least all of this is tied to, like I said earlier, characters that we're supposed to care about, and not just, random ghosts from ancient Japan.
No, exactly.
But it still feels a little bit like a Ghostbuster story to me.
I mean, you're not wrong. I could see that Ghostbusters fighting ghost wolves.
Sure. Well, I mean, they kind of did that. I mean, they fought ghost dogs.
Yeah, but the dogs and wolves are different things.
Right, that's why I can see it.
No one's gonna say terror wolves are like, okay, who brought the wolf?
But yeah, I like how haunted Broom is and how tragic his story is in this.
Mm-hmm. No, that stuff's cool. I like these women that are just the what are they called?
I can't think of it either. The big bird creatures.
Oh yeah, they're like harpies. But I was gonna say they look like the like oracles or whatever from Hercules.
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't think that's the right name for them, but whatever they are, I can't remember.
Yeah, apparently the idea was supposed to be that they're wearing those shawls and they're covering up their wings.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it is.
But that doesn't really work because they have normal person hands.
Well, their hands are like 24 traders, where once you know that they have wings, their hands look like wings. But when you don't know that, they're just hands.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence about this backwards storytelling thing.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye, I'm going to get killed.
She is from an X-Men cartoon.
I don't think I've ever thanked somebody because they're standing in the way of the door and they like sidestep it so they're still mostly in the way. Apparently they're just really polite here.
Yeah, we're really going to an X-Men place with these accents, Austin.
This is why people are mad about the Downey Doctor Doom thing. This is what they want him to sound like.
No, this is the accent he'll do.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm actually like really excited for Downey's Doctor Doom.
He's like, I'm Doctor Doom.
Reed Richards, I am Doctor Doom.
I am Doctor Doom. Brother to Janusz from Ghostbusters 2.
Oh my god, if his like main henchman is Janusz from Ghostbusters 2, I'll be so happy. He's just the greatest character of all time.
Okay, I'm still stuck on this, but I got nothing else to talk about. So when we're going backwards with those flashbacks, because I'm convinced that some audiences it might take them too long to even realize that's what we're doing, especially if you're not very engaged in it. I wonder if they shouldn't have date stamps, especially because we flash back so often. Sometimes it takes a couple of seconds before you even realize that you're in a different time period.
Even if it's maybe like, this is this long before like the incident or whatever when they fight her.
That'd be the way to do it.
Yeah.
This is a cool fight.
I agree with that. Now that you say that, that's what they should have done. They're gonna piss me off. I'm gonna.
Oh, he said it. Yeah. You said it almost exactly in line with him, and I thought you were just saying what you thought he should say, and then he said it, and I was like...
Oh, I must be like a little bit ahead of you. Here, I'll pause for a second.
No, that was great. For a second, I thought you were doing a Defoe, like, now that you've really pissed me off.
Well, I turned it into it, because then I was like, and I'm gonna finish it.
And now we got an Abe Sapien torture scene, which I never thought I would see.
What is the timeline of this? The Hellboy's fighting this werewolf. They ran, Abe and a 90-year-old broom ran out of the castle, and they set up Abe to be tortured, and they're all ready to do that. All of the time that Hellboy's just fighting this werewolf.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if they cheat with the timeline, but when he escapes, it's pretty clearly like not at the same time as some other things that are happening that we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing you things
really
at different times. Room. Yeah, I really like the look of the scene.
It is cool, yeah. It's very red though. It hurts my eyes a little bit.
Well, they talk cool. about that in the but some of these look like they could be. Some of these shots could be posters.
Oh yeah, like panels.
Yeah, this actually might be my favorite sequence action-wise. I just really like the look of it.
I like Hellboy impaling this werewolf with a deer head.
Antlers, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that symbolic of something, or sometimes antlers just antlers?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes a deer head is just Bambi's mom.
Dan Schneider, $2 super chat. Lots of blood and cursing in this, but no sex or nudity. There almost was nudity in the first one.
Oh, really?
Well, sorta, kinda. Or was it this? No, it was this one because
with the harpies, I'm guessing.
No, with the vampire lady.
Oh,
when she goes, I might be conflating some things because I watched all this in rapid succession. But
well, it kind of has that, but like she doesn't have nipples.
That's what I was gonna say. Is she's naked at the end, and the guy that drew that actually drew all the anatomy, and then they took it out. So that's why I say it almost did, but like it was never gonna actually have that.
Because when she pops up and it's just hair covering it, I was like, oh, okay, like we're getting a little risque, and then she moves, and I was like, oh no, she's just a Barbie doll.
Yeah, she just doesn't have the anatomy, but like it kind of works because she's a supernatural creature.
Mm. Yeah, for sure.
And she's like completely dehumanized.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a thing I even question on first viewing.
They could have gotten real creepy, and she could have like fed these wolves with milk.
Wow.
This is really. I wish I didn't say that.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Can we roll time
Yeah,
backwards?
if I could turn back time, it would have been creepy. There's a part in the movie Infinity Pool where they do a thing like that, and it's like really disturbing.
I love the blue in the wolf's eyes. That's cool.
Yeah, it does look really cool.
Apparently, we're in that section where this movie looks great.
And it's dark, but not dark enough that my lights are annoying
Yeah.
making it annoying to watch.
Well, it helps that there's so much illumination from eyes and redness. But yeah, oh, here she is. They talk about that in the director and producer commentary that the director of this wanted it insanely red, and the guy that was working on it, he kept telling him to turn the slider up in Photoshop. He finally just did it himself. He turned it all the way up and then brought it slightly back.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I wanted to mention this earlier. I really like the vanity thing with her. It reads like a, well, I was gonna say biblical parable, but obviously, like a classic, Greek mythology story, where like, the moral of the story is don't be vain, don't be too obsessed with your with your own looks. And here's the world punishing her for that. But I like the kind of subtle thing that happens in that flashback where she gets upset with that girl for thinking that she looks like her older sister that's only like 2 or 3 years older than her, and she says, "That old?"
Yeah. Yeah, that part's great.
That's like a classic Greek myth story.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
Like
yeah, especially with it being
these
that
nail
small.
that stuff. I'm sorry, was it?
No, I said especially with it being that small. It's almost like that Doctor Doom thing where, he has like one small mark or whatever, so he puts on a mask.
Do you mean Doctor Doom?
Doctor Doom! The scourge of Latveria.
They also go on and on in the commentary about how they're not happy with the skeleton faces. They never got a good skeleton face.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I think they look fine. I don't know.
They look
How
fine.
do you mess up a skeleton face?
It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm talking too much about another commentary, but I'm glad I watched those.
Yeah, it gives us something. And
This set design is awesome.
it is really cool.
Or I shouldn't say set, but you know what I mean. This area design.
Yeah. They were like, we're not happy with any of the skeleton faces, and Mike McNoll is like, yeah, well, if I drew them, they'd look fine.
They're like, but we're gonna go to town on these statue faces. Aren't you missing a couple of heads?
Like some snake hair.
Hellboy's great. I just kind of forgot he was in this movie for a while. See,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it
a
weird?
common
Like
theme.
this is like almost objectively less boring than the first one, or more engaging, or however you want to put it. But it's
Yeah.
got a lot of the same problems still. I'm sorry, you were saying something.
Was I?
I
No.
think you started
No.
to, and then my sentence got long.
No, it's okay. No, they are very much of a piece, and they have a lot of the same pros and cons, but this one's overall better. And now Hellboy's fighting snakes.
Well, his mouth wasn't even moving when he said that.
Well,
You gotta love those added ADR lines where we're worried the audience is stupid. So like, very clearly there, he didn't in the script say "gotta go," but he's turning around and running. Somebody really overthought that and went, he should probably say he's going somewhere here. Which is weird because these movies let him be monosyllabic and people are not constantly talking, but just that one moment, gotta go.
Well, it's also funny because he's like, gotta go, but he's not leaving. Like, he just climbed up on a statue.
He just ran away from some snakes to the other side of the room. That's all he did.
Yeah, he just climbed up a statue in the middle of the room.
Okay, so watch Ape Sapien here. He's all ripped up. He's got a plan. He knows how he's going to be.
And he's already lost it.
We cut back. He's already lost it. And it won't come back.
He also bleeds purple, apparently.
Blue, but yeah.
I think his legs were cut again when they cut back to it for a second.
Oh, really? I missed that. So they're just super inconsistent with it.
Yeah. That's so weird.
Ape Sapien's having a bad day here.
He's always having a bad day. He could have gotten with Liz and didn't, and now he's getting tortured by harpies.
Yeah, well, that first one was his fault, man. You got to be more proactive.
You got to seal the deal, my man.
Even though Dan Schneider in the comments is complaining that she's not as attractive in animation as she is in the live-action films.
Well, part of it is she looks like she's like 12 in
yeah.
these movies. Which is definitely a choice. I think part of it is also they make her really short. Like, even compared to the other human characters.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think that actress is pretty short.
Probably, but I don't know. I never felt like she was that short. You're probably right. And well, maybe also when you're looking at like a actual human, you can tell they're not a child just because they're small.
Well, yeah, because here they made her look like Korra from The Last Airbender or something. Like, Yes, I made that reference. I don't know anything about that show, though.
No, you're the biggest fan of Korra that I know.
Yes, my favorite show, Korra the Explorer.
Korra. Korra the Explorer. We love Korra here.
Welcome back to another exciting Rewind commentary, folks.
Oh, now he's got cuts again, but just on his chest.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced he got that from torture.
I also don't think he had those cuts when he was being tortured.
They picked their battles, Austin. They didn't pick the right ones in some cases. I feel like.
Korean animation studios, as the Simpsons would say.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna take out the undead vampire chick that's totally falling apart, and then she's gonna come back. And we do that fake out thing.
We got to do it. It's classic.
She's talking
you think
like
they
Dr.
would have
Doom.
done it again in the third one?
Yeah, I wonder. Well, I wonder who the villain would have been.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, because this is where she gets in the bathtub and she gets her youth back.
Yeah.
And I like that she does this in front of Broom, and I'm glad that, you know, the subplots have all converged now. Or I can't even really say subplots, but just that, you know, we've caught this up to the character that started it all in the first place. I also think that they made this sufficiently messed up enough that I totally buy why he didn't want to talk about it. You know, that was really traumatic.
Yeah, this lady's crazy. He's also definitely playing it older than he was in the first movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Mignola had this weird thing in the commentary where he suggested that instead of having her bathe in blood, she should have stepped out of the bathtub and had a like, we think it's blood, but it's a like dress of blood, like it's an actual physical dress for some reason. I don't really understand why he thought of that. And then one of the other guys in the commentary goes, well, then you couldn't have the holy water thing. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, a dress of blood, I want to see what that looks like just as a visual.
Sure.
Because that sounds cool.
Well, I'm not saying Mignola's not a good storyteller, but
Yeah.
he's all about those visual moments, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look at these stupid skulls.
Yeah, they just can't make a skull look right.
Why is the one woman on the left in the last shot Princess Leia?
Dan Schneider, I don't want to read that super chat. I mean, I appreciate the super chat, but he says, Abe Sapien is cutting himself. He's sad 12-year-old Liz won't date him.
Oh, no.
So again,
like if Kevin Spacey made The Shape of Water.
In that commentary, they kept pointing out things that, like animation mistakes I would have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was, they only used like 3 or 4 models for all these ghosts at the end, and the house they farmed it out to didn't vary them enough so you wouldn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
And like I didn't really pick up on it on first viewing, but then when they brought it up, it was really conspicuous and hilarious because as they're disappearing at the end, the 2 women that are left at the end before they disappear are the exact same character model. So they're just twins for no reason.
Will that vampire really enjoy drinking the blood of the same person?
I think we've also been a little bit inconsistent with these snakes. Like some of them look really cartoony and kind of silly, and then that one was a little better.
That one was also way bigger than the other ones were.
Yeah, true. Oh no, here she comes.
Oh, here she comes.
This is pretty cool. The urn thing comes to life.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think this
it's not an urn, whatever you call that.
On Iron Maiden.
Thank you.
If I remember right, I think this comes from the comic.
Yeah, that is too distinctly Nolan-looking drawing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's been a while since I've read the specific, like the Wake the Devil story, but I'm pretty sure that's in there.
I love that he threw a wax figure of her at her. That was pretty great.
It's the ultimate attack, really. She was trying to wax poetic, so he had to put an end to it.
Well, I guess it wasn't of her though, right? Was that a wax figure of the vampire lady, and then he threw it at Hecate? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
On first viewing, I was confused, and I thought they were the same person. Like, I was kind of lost on that. Like, at first I thought Hecate and the vampire lady were the same thing.
Okay.
And then I had to watch it again.
I definitely had that where I was just thinking that they're the same thing, but
no,
right.
This is actually them kind of tacking Hecate on somewhere because they want to start building Hellboy's destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently in the comics, she's upset with him for not living up to his potential and not going to the dark side. So they established that at the beginning of this movie. And call me superficial, but because we have 2 female demonic characters, and because I don't know, they don't look and sound all that different. It was hard for me to get my head around one of them is, I guess, kind of working for the other, even though they have completely different goals.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they seem to. I'm not really sure how Hecate is in league with the vampire, but she's upset when she finds out that the vampire is dead. Well,
they're both evil. So
True. So
yeah.
they're cut from the same cloth.
Exactly.
As it were.
Yeah.
She also monologues way too much in this section.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like she's an end boss for like every modern video game ever.
She's like a secret hidden end boss though, because we already beat the end boss.
Oh, okay.
I guess maybe they had to. They felt like they had to do this because Hellboy doesn't beat the main vampire chick.
You know what? That's a good point. And it gives them an excuse to bring her in because they clearly really want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that kind of boss that you gotta hope that you can beat right away, or you're gonna have to hear her same lines of dialogue over and over again.
Yeah, and one of those bosses that picks you up and you have to spam a button to get her to let go.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you gotta do quick time events.
Yeah,
to not have to spam it.
Yeah. So get out of here, end boss.
What we're really saying is we hate video games and we're glad we're doing this instead.
Exactly. Oh, nice job with that chair. You really helped.
Is that the first and only time in these that Hellboy has been in pain enough to yell?
He yelled when the heads were biting him.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Because rarely has he been in enough distress to actually let anybody know about it.
Ron Perlman was in the booth long enough to get that.
He just stubbed his toe on something. He was like, ah!
Ah! They took his donuts away and he was like, ah!
They took his donuts away. I'm pretty sure Hellboy just smacked her off screen.
Oh, Arthur needs to use his metal detector powers to find Hellboy's gun.
Oh, I found it. I don't think we needed your metal detecting powers to find that big ass gun.
Well, he closed his eyes and found it.
He's wearing sunglasses. How would you know that?
Well, maybe he's blind. Maybe that's why he has those.
That seems unlikely.
But he can get around like Daredevil because he can sense where metal is.
Dan Schneider, $2 super chat. Cap thinks all demonic women look the same. Yikes. Thanks for the super chat to insult me. That's exactly what I was saying.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not wrong.
But I think you're exactly right about the Hecate fight, and it's cool. I mean, the nice thing is we take out the vampire relatively easily at that point,
mm-hmm.
and then we do get a really cool fight right after that.
Yeah, no, this is well done. How about I got stabbed by a railing?
Yeah, again, my main issue with these is just the half an hour tops, man.
Yep. 22-minute episodes.
And see, she's still around.
She's still talking.
Okay, we get it. Demons are superior, you think. One of the things that's fun about Hellboy too is he, like I said, he's always reactionary, which is irritating with a lot of characters, but it's kind of understandable with him. And he's, strong and powerful enough that he can kind of get away with that in a lot of cases, and then pays for it in other cases. So he's not the sort of character that It's kind of fun, the irony that he works for an investigation bureau, but he doesn't like to investigate anything.
Oh, sure.
He's not a detective at all.
No, he punches stuff real good with his big hand.
Yeah, but he's worried that he's not going to be able to fight his destiny to basically become a big blunt instrument for hell. But all he knows how to do is be a blunt instrument.
Yeah, exactly. What a good irony.
I always latch onto those predestination versus free will things. Mm-hmm. Well, and yeah, it's an irony, but it's not cool just because it's cute. It's like can you fight your nature? Even if he's picking the other side, he's still arguably handling things more or less the way Hell wants him to. So is that like a slippery slope all by itself? That kind of thing is interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, you think he's gonna have those scratches the next time we see him?
No.
Oh well, maybe time passes. I don't know. So I assume this goes all the way back to before any of that started. Like, are we still doing the backtracking?
I think he's like packing up to leave for that.
To go there. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's cool booking ending it this way, flipping those scenes, because this kind of establishes the kind of man he is.
No, it's true. And maybe this would have been some of the stuff they would have tackled in a third movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whoa, that shot at the table, like it was like a completely different animation style.
Because when you said they wouldn't have probably adapted from any comics, I kind of imagine they would have tried to do something with Hecate though.
When I think I keep thinking of these as like they're tied to the movies, but like I guess they could have done anything really.
Yeah, I don't think they would have avoided her just because they did it in this thing.
It would have been cool if they did Baba Yaga in the third one. But...
And then past the darkness to get through the light is, I mean, it's a little trite, but like it's very clearly the way he sees the world.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so
I don't know.
Lobster Johnson's coming.
It's definitely better. Oh, okay. See, I think I turned it off right.
Now that I think about it, I turned off the last one when we finished it. Did you watch through the credits?
I don't think I did.
Oh, maybe that also sets up something.
It didn't occur to me that there would be an after credits for those.
I'll check after we're done this one. You know what my favorite thing about Lobster Johnson is, Cap?
What was that?
Is in like 2017, there was this big announcement of like, oh man, Thomas Hayden Church got cast in a new superhero movie, and it's going to be really exciting. And I was like, oh, he's definitely one of the Black Order in Infinity War. And that movie came out, and I was like, oh, he's not. Like, that's weird. Because they were also making a big deal about how the Black Order were going to be like actors, when that movie was first announced.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then what was I gonna say? So then like another year goes by, and I'm like, oh, like what was up with that Thomas Hayden Church news? Like I didn't go anywhere. And then he shows up out of nowhere in Hellboy 2019 as Lobster Johnson for one scene.
Oh wow, there he is.
There he is, yeah.
You blew my mind with this.
See what I mean? He's just like in a black void. Shadow of the Claw.
Oh, is that what it would have been called?
Maybe. I don't know.
Weird.
Okay, I'm gonna go check to see if the other one had a after credits.
It's so weird they set that up. Yeah, because I would have to switch discs. Well, I'm a little disappointed. I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah, I love Lobster Johnson.
That kind of looked cool.
That was the first Hellboy thing I ever read was Conqueror Worm, which is where he first appears. And I was so confused because it's like a big ending story.
Oh.
For the time. Okay, there is no after credit scene in the first one. But I was like, Hellboy comics kind of suck. Like, they don't make any sense. and then I was like, I started from the beginning. And I was like, okay, this is like one of the greatest comic series of all time.
I read a mini series about him in like the early 2010s, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
And liked it quite a bit. But I've never read any of the early stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like a ghost in that story that's like trying to help Hellboy beat the Conqueror Worm. That's like the big like kind of ending to the Nazi stuff.
So I'm going to answer a question you had an hour ago
Mhm.
when we were talking about how the first live action film did. It barely made its money back.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I didn't know it did. It was like as even as it was. It had a $60 million budget, and it only took in 99.
Oh, yeah.
And they made a sequel and made these animated films and acted like it was gonna get real big somehow. Like that's crazy.
It must have done better on DVD sales. Like DVD sales are 100% why it gets a sequel,
Yeah,
but
I'm sure.
crazy.
I'm sure that's right. And the second movie did better.
Hmm.
It almost doubled its budget. The first movie did not do that. So what were they expecting the second movie to do? Like based on these numbers, it should have gotten a third one. Because its budget was 85 and it brought in 168. What did they spend three times what they did the first time around on advertising? Like how do the numbers bear out there, Austin?
I don't know. Maybe they were like, wait a minute.
Well, if you made a second
Why did
one
we
when your
green
movie
light
made
the second
next to
movie?
nothing, it only did like 30 million over its. That's not even enough to pay for your advertising budget.
Mm.
What? I didn't know that. Well, this explains why fans were as angry as they were to not get a third one. Because it probably wasn't just we love those movies. It's what if you look at the numbers, it doesn't bear out. You should have made another one. It's very strange.
Well, I think part of it is Del Toro wanted a really big budget for the third one, and they were
Oh,
like,
that's right.
no.
That's right. Well, you would have thought that he would have maybe compromised just to get it made, but I guess not.
Nope. He was like, I want my big budget.
Super Billy, $5 super chat. Thanks, man. Apparently, the villains of Del Toro's Hellboy 3 were going to be the Universal monsters. Oh, that's right. I have heard that. And Hellboy and Liz's children were going to be a big factor.
So I was correct. He also wouldn't have adapted any comics for the
Yeah,
third one.
you were right. Well, and they were going to have kids?
Yeah, that's how. Well, Liz is pregnant throughout that movie, and she's like, I
Oh,
can't
that's
tell
right.
Hellboy.
I'm telling
And
you,
then
it's been forever. I just
and then at the end, it's
forgot.
like it's twins.
Oh, yeah. God. I
Yeah,
forgot
that's
about
right.
that.
Thanks, Super Billy. He wanted 150 to 200 million for the third movie.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because the box office results of the second movie would not justify that.
Hmm. When a lot of people also blame it on The Dark Knight because it came out like the week before.
That's what Dan Sten just mentioned. Yeah. So yeah, how much better would it have done if it hadn't opened against that, or nearly opened against the the next week?
Hmm.
Was it the next week or the week? Yeah, it was the very
Something
next
like
week.
that. Like, yeah.
Okay, well let's go ahead and go on to tweet length reviews if we can. I
Yeah.
don't think we got more than one or two, Austin. I will
I
check
don't think there's
Patreon, but I don't
any
think
on
we.
Discord.
Okay, I don't know if we got any
No.
on Patreon either. I will check that real quick. And then we'll go on to our ratings, and we're going to add a new feature. We're going to also rank the movie. I announced last time that this being our 25th show, and I didn't even say that at the start of this, but it is our 25th show, and they're coming out more often, so we got here quicker. But I mentioned that because of that, we were going to go ahead and reveal real briefly. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's late, especially, but we're going to reveal our rankings so far for the 25 movies that we've already done, and then we're going to rank this in there. My plan initially was to just do that every 25 shows. I think we'll do what I used to do with the unscripted show now, and at the end of the show, we'll rate and we'll also rank, and just each of us will put it in a spot on our ranked list.
Yeah, sure. Do
I've-
you want me to just add them now? Because I was just thinking,
Sure.
if you're just looking at my list, you're gonna have to like refresh and stuff. Like it's not like you're gonna be able to see me edit it in real time.
No, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead and just add it. That's fine. I did get one tweet length review, but it's a little longer than tweet length, so
That makes up for it.
it makes up for it. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, we got one from Bag, Justin Hayes. Sort of Storms. Well, I guess this is fair though. He's reviewing them both. Sort of Storms really gets the characters and takes advantage of its medium, but unfortunately, some of its subtext is muddled, as if they forgot to connect the dots between the themes and the character arcs. I kind of said that. Nevertheless, they nailed the vibe and tone, and he calls it a superhero. Blood and Iron is closer to what I expected these to be. Oh, he liked that first one better. It feels like a solid, if standard, pilot to a TV show, which you kind of said, which makes sense coming from the creatives behind the likes of Lilo and Stitch, the series. Oh, they made this, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, and Spectacular Spider-Man. He was right about Spectacular, apparently.
There you go. There you go. I think that was Super Billy.
That's why we make this a group
right.
effort. Considering the strong ending, I think I'd have watched this hypothetical series, Hero.
Although it probably balances out because he is doing 2 movies, so it probably is like tweet length for both.
Yeah. Bag said, I'm sorry, I thought it was 3 sentences each. No, you're good. I wasn't even thinking you'd review each of them, but yeah, they are separate entities.
I mean, that works. You done good, Baggy.
You did. James Egan, when is the new Hellboy coming out? Was it September?
So
Somehow?
It does not have an official release date, and at Comic-Con, because all we know is it's coming out this year, and at Comic-Con, somebody asked the director, and he was like, September, I think.
Oh, wow. He doesn't even know.
He doesn't know for sure, but like he thinks it's September, which is really weird.
Yeah, that's fast.
Like there's no way that movie doesn't bomb, and it makes me sad because there's the potential that movie's great, and we'll never get any more. And I will have to listen to people for the dawn of time be like, when are we getting Del Toro's 3?
They were nuts for putting out that teaser. Because that second trailer is just like leaps and bounds of quality above it. That first teaser looks like a fan film, and like the second movie looks like a low budget movie, but it looks like a real movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what they were thinking with that. Like if they put that out, some people would have gotten excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the teaser looked all right, but like I was definitely more cautious after seeing it. And then when the main trailer came out, I was like, okay, no, this looks really good.
Okay, but 90% of people, Austin, that saw that were like freaking out. Like this, how is this not a fan film? When I sent it to Connor, he was like, oh, they made a Hellboy fan film. I was like, no, that's a real movie. He's like, wait, what? Like he didn't even believe me.
You go to every comment on like both trailers, and it's just when they should have just made Del Toro 3 because they're as annoying as the Snyderverse people. But
yeah, I understand it more than that though.
I don't know. For me, like just on a personal level, I think it's as annoying. But part of that is just the Del Toro movies aren't great adaptations in the first place.
But you got to be more sympathetic than that because nearly everybody saying that are people that didn't get into that because of comics and that like those movies, and that's why they like it.
Mm-hmm. No, and I get that too, but that goes with the Snyderverse people. Like that's the same thing. Like you can say
it's not exactly the same thing. Like how many people were introduced to Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman through the Snyder movies? I'm saying these are people that don't even know what Hellboy is outside of those movies. It's not exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. You got to be like 3% more sympathetic to that. Maybe. Like I get that it's not what you want, but to say that they're as annoying as the Snyderverse people, I don't understand that. They're coming at it from a totally different reason.
It's as annoying because I can't because it's the only place that conversation ever goes to. Like that's where it's as annoying to me.
Oh,
like,
I see.
If I'm just talking, if I'm talking to Connor and he's like, I wish they made 3, like I'm more sympathetic. It's more so that like I can't see like a conversation online without it just being like Del Toro 3. Like,
I see what you mean, but that's not the way you framed it. You said they're as irritating as the Snyderverse people, and I just think it's a different crowd
as a collective.
Yeah, but the Snyder thing is literally completely ununderstandable to me. Like with respect to people that just like what they like, I don't get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, because I like all the Hellboy movies to varying degrees. It's just I would like something more like the comics.
Oh, sure. Well, Austin, it'll be interesting to see where those fall in your top 100.
Yeah.
Which we're going to start doing in the not too distant future, folks.
I can definitely say there are Hellboys in my top 100, so.
Yeah. I think I could probably fairly say that too. Let's go ahead and rate these, Austin. Why don't you go first? And are you going to give them both the same score, or does one go a notch higher?
I am going to give them both the same score and say that they are both hero. They're both very muddled and not great, but great in places. They are momentarily brilliant, and
Yeah.
that's about it. And large swaths boring.
Okay, apologies everybody, because here for just a second you're going to see a black screen. Oh no, you're just going to see Austin
Oh no!
for a second. He's
No
going to
one
act like a
wants that.
vampire.
I already lost you like 8,000 subscribers by being annoyed about the Del Toro Hellboy 3 thing. So,
That's okay. We'll all get over it. Okay, so Austin and I. Oh, sorry, I didn't rate, but my review is actually exactly the same as yours, and like for the same reasons. I was gonna go that exact same way. Both of them are hero for the same
Yeah.
reason that you just said. And I like what you said. Like, what'd you say? Moments of brilliance.
momentarily brilliant
Momentarily
with
brilliant.
swaths of boredom.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do think that the first one is slightly worse than the second one. But as far as like, I don't know, stories, narratives go, I think they wind up on the same level. Like it would be in the old rewind scale, it'd be like a 2 and a 2.5 probably.
If we were rating them out of 100, there'd probably be like a slight difference between them. But when you're rating it out of 5, like, yeah, they're about the same.
Yeah. I don't really feel right because the problem is neither of them is a villain. I can't go to,
No. There's too many good things
negative
in them
place.
for it to like.
But neither of them deserves superhero either.
They're right on that like mediocre, okay divide.
Yeah. But they're better than Ultimate Avengers.
100% they're better. What would you rather watch, Cap? These two Hellboy movies or Jumper?
Oh well, you're about to see where that landed in my ranking. You want to do your ranking real quick?
Yeah, we can do that. Do you have it on screen?
I do, yeah, and I thought I would just kind of blow through it.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't just saying things when it was there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show it, and you can. I wanted to like point out like the top and bottom, and then just anything else you want to point out.
Yeah, well, if there's anything you want to mention too about my list, go for it.
Okay, so your bottom pick is Jumper.
Because of course it is.
Yeah, and mine is also Jumper.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was an easy way to show these side by side where we could see all of it.
That's all good. Yeah, it's Jumper. I finally had to answer that impossible question you said last time of Origins over Jumper.
Yeah.
And I realized I think Origins gets the tick for having Hugh Jackman, who's always good.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's the one thing it has.
It's at least got the star power over it. Now I put Masters of the Universe way lower than you did.
Yeah, I don't know why Masters of the Universe is so high on my list, but like I also feel like I'm more negative overall about more movies on here, maybe.
Yeah, no, pretty clearly.
Yeah,
because like your 16 is the Batman Beyond movie. I have that all the way at 5.
well, it's at number 18.
Oh,
just
do I need to refresh this because of Hellboy?
Because of the Hellboy ones.
Well, and keep in mind, I haven't put the Hellboy movies in mine yet.
Oh, okay. I just figured it was easier because you wouldn't be able to see me update it while you could see that on your end.
No, that's true. I just don't know if I can update mine fast enough.
Yeah.
Like I was sitting here hosting a show or something, and so I just...
Yeah. I just did it quickly while we were talking.
Well, anyway. That's cool. Anyway. So you got 89.
So Batman would be beyond affectionately lower on my list.
Yeah.
Which would make a lot of people angry.
Well, but that's what's crazy about it is that you see a lot of these as more negative than I do. Okay, so you weren't with me to review Gods and Monsters. What did you think of that? Clearly you didn't love it.
I thought it was okay. To me it felt like the watered down, less interesting adaptation of a great comic that doesn't exist.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
It was just nice to see
right.
Bruce Timm do something competent again.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
So let's see. You've got Daredevil at 14, and I've got it. Oh, how did you number them?
when you hit edit, there should be a section that says like numbered
Okay, I'll
ranked.
do that. I didn't even. I'm not as familiar with this as you are.
Hmm.
You had it at 12. I have it at 14. I have it lower than you do.
For what? Sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You've got. No, I've got it two earlier than you. You've got Daredevil at. Well, you know, I say that though. I don't have the same numbers as you now because you added the Hellboy movies. So I don't actually know how it bears out at this point.
Well, I'm guessing it's probably you're probably putting both of these movies under Daredevil,
Yeah,
so it would be the same thing.
so
It'd still be 12.
be about the same.
Yeah. I know 89 is definitely way lower on my list than it is on yours.
Yeah, yeah, it's 9 on mine.
And Moonwalker is way higher on my list than
Yeah,
it is
that's
on yours.
crazy where you got Moonwalker.
It's too good.
But I
I'm
still got
sorry.
it higher than I thought I would.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, and then Days of Future Past, I'm sure, is much lower on my list than it is on yours. Um,
Yeah, I've got Days of Future Past at 4.
that makes sense.
And you got it
That's my list. I feel like mine
at
isn't like too
13.
crazy. Like if you've been following these rewinds, like I feel like this
No.
makes sense.
And one thing I should mention is I don't know how consistent I was with my rankings versus my ratings because I didn't go back and get them all put in. Because Austin's been, or look at it, because Austin's been keeping up with this as he goes, and I had to rank it all this week because I have not been doing that. But now we're going to do it on the show every time.
Yeah.
I
Well, it's definitely. I don't think I'm super consistent, but
I'm trying to decide where I'm going to put the Hellboy movies. And they'll probably be back to back just like you had them because I, ranked them.
and they're enough of a piece that it's like, like the
You almost
Ultimate
have to keep them
Avengers
together.
films are also together for me.
I
just
did the
'cause-
same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I said I liked him better than that. Do I like him better than Tim Story Fantastic Four? That's a question. Do I like him better than Moonwalker? That's a question.
James Egan says we need to do Watchmen next.
Probably not. I think I would probably. Oh man, I just remembered. I forgot to put the wheel together.
Oh no.
Yeah, we were gonna do a wheel spin tonight for anniversary movies, and I just completely spaced it.
That's all good.
Well, it means we're either gonna have to just pick one of those or not announce tonight.
How many?
I'm sorry, guys. I had a lot going on today.
No, it's okay. How many are there?
Well, that's the thing is there's a lot of potential choices. So it's like, do we just narrow it down to 20th and 30th anniversaries? That's what I was gonna do initially.
Well, like, do you have them listed out?
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say I can pick a random number generator.
Oh, that's a good idea.
How many are there?
Let me come in and count. I'm sorry, everybody. Just give us a second here. Because okay, so for 20 years, let's take Hellboy off of it because we just did Hellboy movies.
Well, we should save that for when Crooked Man comes out, anyways.
You know what? We talked about that, didn't we? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's 5 for 20th anniversaries, and there's 3 for 30th anniversaries.
Okay.
You want to just keep it to that?
Okay. Here, I can just roll a die then. Let's see. Roll.
You want to just keep it to 7 for right now, and we can do this again later in the year and even include other things. But you guys wouldn't believe how long this list is. I mean, there's like 8 or 9 for 15. There's a bazillion for 10.
Okay, the number I got was 5.
Okay, 2, 3. Okay, that has us doing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
Although it just hasn't been that long since I did the off the cuff for that.
Do you want me to roll it again?
Well, kind of like I'm not sure.
Okay, here I got it. I got us.
I don't know if I want to do that quite yet.
I rolled a 5 again.
It's like we're just destined to do that. Okay, I'm gonna let you pick
I
then.
rolled a 1. Oh, actually, okay, I'll pick.
I'm gonna let you pick then.
This is a disaster. We haven't even gotten to your ranking yet.
It's so good. No, I'm gonna rank it. Here I'm showing it on the screen here. I'm going to rank it between Fantastic Four. Between Moonwalker and Tim Story Fantastic Four. I'm gonna put them just above Tim Story's Fantastic Four.
Hell yeah.
That's where I'm at with it.
I think the only thing we really have in common is just we have the same first and last, because the first and last ones are just straight up objective. Like, of course, Jumper is the worst and RoboCop is the best.
Okay, I'm gonna let you pick between Spider-Man 2 and Catwoman.
Oh, Cap. You can't do this to me. Because if I say the other one, I'm going to look like a colossal asshole, but I also really want to now. And everyone in the comments is like, oh, Spider-Man 2. I've also never seen Catwoman.
Yeah. Yeah, you've never seen it.
Okay, I'm going to flip a coin. I'm gonna let fate decide.
Robert,
this.
you're right. This is unprofessional, and I don't care.
Okay.
It's hilarious. Super Billy says, "Catwoman, baby."
Cap, you call it witches' heads, witches' tails.
Catwoman is heads.
Okay, let's see. It's Spider-Man 2. It really wanted it to be Spider-Man 2. The dice roll hit twice.
You hit it 5 twice, and I don't have anything else to say about that movie.
Yeah. James Egan says he wants us to do it so that he can hear my opinion on Spider-Man 2. So.
Well, I might not even show up. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Spider-Man 2 for next time. It's a big anniversary. People love that movie.
It's interesting because it's the first Spider-Man thing we've done for this, and it's not the first one.
Yeah, but we can jump around, man. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
and
it'll be the great song said, "Jump around."
And it'll, I think, be the first time I've seen that. Well, I was gonna say since No Way Home, but that can't be true because I'm sure that movie came out before I did the unscripted on that.
It would be for me because I rewatched all those movies right after No Way Home, not even before it.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's what we're doing next time. Yep. It turns out. God, I wish I gotten that wheel set up. But, well, I say that. It would have been Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, no. Fate was on Spider-Man 2's side.
Man, you know, I always side with free will on these free will and destiny arguments, but I'm starting to rethink my position.
We're going to have to decide if we're doing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 2.5.
No, we'll do Spider-Man 2 because more people will have access to it.
Thomas Lowe wants us to invite John because John hates Spider-Man 2 with like a irrational burning passion.
Does he really?
Yes. Like if we had said to John we can either do Spider-Man 2 or Catwoman, he would have said Spider-Man 2 is the worst movie. And he would have been wrong.
Wow. No, he would have been wrong, absolutely. You know what? I might be wrong. I said I did an unscripted not that long ago. I think it was on the first one. I don't think I did one for 2.
I was going to say, I don't remember you doing one on 2.
Okay. Well, no, that's
sweeten the deal a little bit more.
That's perfectly. Yeah, well, it doesn't feel as redundant. I feel happier doing it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me put in a quick plug for Patreon like I always do. You can become a Patreon producer at patreon.com/geekvolution. The $10 tier lets you help us pick movies for Rewind. You get to hang out with me and Austin on the Superhero Rewind Discord and talk to everybody there, and lots of cool perks there. You also get your name read every single time we do one of these right at the end of the show. And guess what? It's the end of the show, which means I'm going to do it really close to right now. I had this set up and then I messed it up somewhere. And now I'm back to this again.
Oh God, James Egan, I don't want to do Spider-Man 2 and Catwoman as a double feature.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks again, all of our patrons and everybody that helped us out with super chat tonight too. Thanks a lot to you, and especially thanks to our superhero rewind producers, including Breezy Hemi, Jesse Surtees, Chewbacca's lover, Doctor Hello, Goofster123, Joe Turner, Joe Gira, John Matthew McLean, Justin Hayes, Matt Bat68, Michael Martin, SS Jerry, Super Billy, Thomas Edgehill, Victor, Abic Stark, Adam March, Damon Begay, Hot Soup, Invisipig is back. Kareem Roberts, Matthew Brody, Miguel Rodriguez, this guy, the Day Ghost, and Wendell Jones.
Crap.
Thanks, everybody. Once again, appreciate you. We're gonna go ahead and get going. Finally, Austin, any last words with your right hand of doom?
No, dumbass.
I was drinking.
I was drinking coffee.
Anyway, appreciate you guys. We'll see you again real soon. Oh, somebody asked when we were going to tackle Cape Crusader. We're going to try to review the whole season next weekend, and I'm going to try to do a blind commentary for the first couple episodes either tomorrow or Sunday, because I haven't started it yet. So that's the plan right now.
And I am done. But I'm going to rewatch it before we do the review.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to finally see it and talk about it with you. I say finally, it feels like finally because you've been watching it. It just dropped yesterday, but I haven't got to see any of it yet.
I know, and it's not even like I binged it that hard. Like I never watched more than 2 episodes in one go.
You just had more time than I did. I had a writers meeting this week and stuff, so.
No, exactly.
Okay, we're leaving. Thanks for being here, folks.
Yeah.
See you later.
See ya.
Good night.